that if such an opportunity where they get to engage with the vice president, it's important that they make some of their issues known to him. Okay. So that eventually, if he becomes president, it's on top of his mind that, hey, this is what the private sector is asking for. So they were very attentive listening to him, also willing to, engage or willing to also share their opinions on how certain things must be done. One thing that I think more than one of the speakers mentioned was the fact that politicians think they know it all. Meanwhile, some of them have no experience, zero experience in how to even run a business or even how to even, and McDan for one mentioned it, that, I mean, he has been doing business for over 30 years. And sometimes he sees a problem in the private sector. He walks into a minister's office, proposes a solution that will not benefit his company individually, but would benefit a lot of companies. And then the minister looks at him, nods his head, he walks out of the office and something totally different is done. Something totally different is done. And he finds that a bit shocking and also a bit surprising that, you know what, you don't know that thing. You don't remember that song. You don't know that thing. I am teaching you that thing and you are playing with that thing. And I mean, that was a pain point for him. That, I mean, and it was echoed by some of the speakers as well, that politicians must be humble enough. You see, that yes, you are in a political position. Yes, you are minister of what. But if someone who has been doing this all their life comes to tell you that, you know what, this is how I think we should do it, or this is what you should consider, this is what you should consider, you must take that seriously and look into it and try to, because these people, as he said, all his investments are in Ghana. His whole life is Ghana. He has been doing this for decades. So if he makes a suggestion, you should take it with the authority that it comes with. So, I mean, these were some of the concerns that were raised. And one very important thing, I think was it the CEO of IPMC mentioned.
Okay, he's a foreign.
Yes, foreigner. He's
okay,
an
Indian guy, yeah.
Yeah, and he said, he was talking about, they asked him about, because he's tech, they asked him about digitalization and all that. He says, see, in every country in the world, or what citizens look for, or the basic needs of citizens is food, shelter, healthcare. And he says Ghana is over prioritizing digitalization, over prioritizing technology, when even in agriculture, we are not doing so well. In providing shelter, go to this Accra, walk around, people cannot rent. People do not have places to sleep.
When he was saying the vice president,
the vice president was there, and he made it like, let's not, digitalization is important. Yes, it's important that, technology can do this, but let's focus on what is important first. Basically, to wait in tree, basically that's what he was saying. That let's look at solving the basic issues. It's not rocket science, fixing food. He mentioned that some of our staple foods, like traditional staple foods like corn, I mean, why are we not overproducing it to the point that we can even export in large quantities? Rice, why are we still dependent on Asia for rice? Some of these basic issues like shelter, are we making sure that citizens can afford homes, people have places to live? All of that. He said, let's prioritize the basic needs. It's important. Yeah, digitalization is fine. Digitalize this, digitalize that. But at the end of the day, it comes down to bread and butter.
Okay.
You understand? The cocoa someone will drink. Can the person afford the cocoa? Does the person, and all of that. So he said, digitalization is important, technology, all these fancy things. It's fine, but we cannot jump from 1 to 10.
He said it was the vice president.
While the vice president was sitting there.
And yes, the vice president had it.
The vice president had it. I think he responded to it briefly, that he said, so the vice president responded that he acknowledges that point. However, the digitalization efforts that he is doing is not in vacuum, or it's not like it's not just for the fanciness of it. It's to solve real issues in the economy. And he made mention of the credit score system, that one for the Ghana card. He says, like, people do not have a unique identity, and the Ghana card solved that problem. That is like a country like Ghana, people should have, it's a basic need. Basically, he was making an argument for the fact that some of the issues that his digitalization efforts have tackled are really critical. They are not fancy. They are not too flamboyant. They are to solve basic needs. So that was his response to that query or that argument by the CEO of IPMC. And I mean, you see, I like such engagement. You see, as you were asking, was the vice president seated? Yes, he was seated right in his face.
Interesting.
Right in his face. I mean, and you see, it's important. It's a democracy. You see, Ghana is a democracy, and some of these things are important. Some of these engagements are important.
Was a reason given for why the former president was in that event?
That was my surprise. I kept wondering. I don't know. I didn't know who to ask. That was my issue, because it was very obvious. His absence was very obvious. I don't know why it did. And surprisingly, not that I maybe I missed it, but it wasn't mentioned at all.
Oh, wow.
And that was very surprising to me. In fact, that was one of the things I went home thinking about, like, oh, I mean, this is good. It would have been perfect if we had the former President Mahama also here. Because you remember the same organizer, the last CEO summit, there was the former President Mahama, and then there was the NPP flag bearer as well, Dr. Bawumia there. So it kind of gave that sort of balanced, thing. And also it also enabled the CEOs to present the issues to two people who are likely going to be one of them is going to be the next president. So even if Bawumia doesn't become president, Mahama becomes president, and then you know that the concerns of the CEOs have been put before them. But I don't know, the organizers unfortunately did not mention why he couldn't have, even though I know he was billed to be at that particular event.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't want to meet the vice president on the same platform. They might get into a debate. He doesn't want to debate him.
Well, the reason was not given. The reason was not given.
Another story, Africa must end dollar-based crude oil pricing. The African Refiners and Distributors Association boss, who also happens to be our very own Dr. Mustafa Abdulhamid. And he said that there should be a halt in the export of crude oil from Africa, insisting that the continent is far from meeting its energy security amid rising population. He argued that by reducing reliance on foreign currencies for energy transaction, African countries could better stabilize their economies, reduce energy export costs, and foster long-term energy security. Right, Cole?
Yeah.
We should stop using our dollars to buy our local currencies to import dollar-based crude oil. And we should also stop exporting the small oil that we are producing on the continent. We should trade among ourselves.
You see, it's a good call, Jerry. But how do we get there?
The practicality?
Yes, it's always the how I'm thinking about. You see, it's always the how.
I think he spoke about infrastructure, that we need to put the infrastructure.
Let's talk about what he suggested.
He asked African countries to build integrated infrastructure to guarantee energy security that is independent of developed countries to stabilize their economies.
So where do we start from?
Budget, put some into tow, start refining your own oil, start selling to yourself and your neighbors. Let the other big players do same. Nigeria, Angola, and the rest. But it's an OPEC question. Yeah, it is an OPEC discussion. Anyway, so, I mean, for me, I think that it's a call in the right direction. But like you're saying, would it ever happen?
Yeah.
Internationally, have you heard of the latest issues in the U.S.?
The House, the Senate.
No, that was the racist text messages that were sent to blacks, all over the country.
About?
Okay. CNN reports a few hours ago. Authorities across the United States are investigating after racist text messages, some with references to slave catchers and picking cotton, reminiscent of the country's painful and bigoted past, have been received by children, college students, and working professionals from unrecognized phone numbers in the wake of the presidential election. Shocking. Let me read one of the messages to you. Greetings, Talaria J. You've been selected to pick cotton at the nearest plantation starting 7th November 2024. Please be ready at 8 a.m. sharp with your belongings. Our executive slave catchers pick you up in a brown van. Be prepared to be searched once you have entered the plantation. You are in plantation group 7. And this has been sent, and people are crying. I've seen people with tears in their eyes just reading these messages. And this comes on the wake of Trump's victory.
No, so who could this be coming from? Trump supporters or?
Authorities are investigating.
Because it's unclear. Is this coming from the conservatives or is this coming from the liberals? Conservatives, because maybe they are mocking the black people, because we know Trump's fan base is mostly
the NAACP president has this to say: the unfortunate reality of electing a president who historically has embraced and at times encouraged hate is unfolding before our eyes. These messages represent an alarming increase in vile and abhorrent rhetoric from racist groups across the country, who now feel emboldened to spread hate and stoke the flames of fear that many of us are feeling after Tuesday's election results.
He's accusing the conservatives of mocking the blacks because Trump won.
Trump's presidential spokesperson said, the campaign spokesperson said, the campaign has absolutely nothing to do with these text messages. Sad. It is not immediately clear who sent the messages, and there is no complete list of whom they were delivered to. At least some appear to have been sent through text now, in what the company believes is a widespread coordinated attack. It told CNN on Friday. As soon as we became aware, our trust and safety team acted quickly, rapidly disabling the related accounts in less than an hour. So this is a cyber attack. Yeah, this is a cyber attack. Wow.
America in the next 4 years, in terms of its social structure, is going to have a challenge. Why am I saying this? Because with Trump's win, right? Take what probably his supporters are doing now.
Okay.
Also, earlier, immediately after Kamala lost, we had Democratic supporters also sending insult and making racist remarks against Arabs and immigrants, blaming them for voting for Trump. So this issue of each side, there is some level of divisiveness that currently exists in the society. And guess what? The president is not a unifier.
He couldn't be bothered.
He's not bothered. If anything, he's going to even make it worse. So it's going to be a problem. If in the next 4 years in America, it's going to be a problem.
So you would say, like, going forward, his rhetoric should change to be more conciliatory.
Yes, but I don't even see that coming, because this is Trump. You see, unless maybe his advisors take a new approach to his presidency this time. But the old Trump that we know, the Trump who stands on campaign platforms and allows people to call Puerto Rico a garbage island, this same Trump, unifier in this, because this is a case where even among themselves, among the liberals themselves, there is division, where the black Americans are calling immigrants and Arabs what names for causing Kamala's loss. Meanwhile, all you liberals who are facing attacks from these white conservatives, and it's a whole mess. And
interesting.
It's just funny that the president in charge doesn't seem like someone who would even make an attempt.
He's not going to hug anybody
to unify and say, you know what, we're all Americans. Let's go. No. That's not Trump.
That's not Trump.
That is not Trump.
That's
so
interesting.
it's going to be interesting to see how things unfold. And the sad part is that we do not want to hear any violence coming up from this, because that is usually the next step after these rhetoric, after these comments, and so let's just pray that the issues of George Floyd and whatever do not come up again as a result of these tensions.
We hope so. Anyway, he's here. His name is Lukman Evergreen Mumin. It's 5 minutes to the top of the hour. He's here to tell us, among all things, why.
Oh my gosh, kudos.
Set back for Partey! Oh yes! Oh yes, Thomas Partey!
Hello, good morning. It's time for Sports Flash on Business Breakfast on Zed. My name is Lukman Evergreen Mumin. It's been a mixed weekend for fans of Kumasi, Asante, Kotoko, and Accra House of Oak. Now, while supporters of Accra House of Oak are happy, the same can't be said for the Porcupine Warriors. In England, Ruud van Nistelrooy's work with Man United is done. Robin Amorim arrives today. Now, Barcelona slipped while Real Madrid woke up from their slumber. Another coaching casualty in Italy, and in tennis, Coco Gauff ends the season in style. All right, we begin with results from the Ghana Premier League matches that were played over the weekend. Ghanaian Giants Kumasi Asante Kotoko fell to their third defeat in a row after a 1-0 loss to Bechem United at the Nana Fosu Jebor Park on Sunday. Dreams FC finally secured their first win of the campaign after a 1-0 victory over Mediama SC. The BNE Gold Stars were held in Wenchi by Young Apostles, with champions FC Samatex beating Legon Cities 1-0. Nations FC continued their impressive run with a 3-0 victory over Nswatriman FC in Kumasi. Basake Holy Stars left it late to beat Accra Lions 2-1 in Enyinase. Now, Heart of Lions made it 3 wins on a row after beating Brekum Chelsea 1-0. Adriana Stars returned to winning ways with a 1-0 victory over Karela United. In Accra, House of Folk climbed to 4th place on the table after beating Vision FC 1-0 at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium last Friday. Now, their coach Abubakar Watara reacted to the performance of his team.
Determination, because it's House of Folk. That thing I'll tell my players every time. All the match House of Folk has played is like fair now. No anything can give you chances, but today we win. The important thing in football to score one goal. We score, but we miss some simple chances.
Well, that was coach of Accra Hasselfolk excited after their win over Vision FC. Meanwhile, Vision FC coach Nana Jima was proud of the performance of his players despite the defeats to the Ghanaian Giants.
A game that difficult like this one, it's very, very unfortunate that we should concede that particular goal. But I think that my boys have lost, but they've lost gallantly. They're giving a very, very good account of themselves. We took the ball to Accra Hasselfolk. We wanted to go out, show that we have lots of energy, wanted to take the ball to them, and that's exactly what we did. I think that you realize that, especially in the second half, they were very tired. We kept pushing. Unfortunately, the door went up. The first half, yes. In the first half, I think probably the first 20 minutes, a bit more respect, because of course it's Accra Hasselfolk. I mean, you will give Accra Hasselfolk respect, whichever way. But I think that in the second half, we went all out. As much as we considered an early goal in the second half, we never gave up.
Well, that was coach of Vision FC, Nana Kwekwajiman, speaking after the 1-0 defeat to Accra House of Folk at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium last Friday. All players of the senior national team, the Black Stars, are expected to start arriving ahead of the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers against Angola and Niger this week. Now, Coach Otoado has invited 25 players for the final 2 matches of Group F as Ghana hangs on to their slim hopes of qualifying for the tournament. The Black Stars will face Angola on Friday in Luanda before hosting Niger on Monday, November 18th. Meanwhile, Ghanaian forward Inaki Williams could miss the upcoming Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers due to injury. The Black Stars forward is reported to have suffered a hamstring muscle problem, which ruled him out of Atletico Bilbao's 1-1 draw in the La Liga against Real Valladolid just yesterday. Now, Williams has become a doubt for the final 2 games of the qualifiers, which will begin on Friday against Angola. Elsewhere, West Ham forward Mikel Antonio has arrived in Ghana for the first time to support Samba Football Academy. Now, the 34-year-old was received by the Ghanaian Hammers, a West Ham fan based in Ghana. Now, Antonio will travel to Bompata in Kumasi to inspect the Football Academy project, which he is a part of. So he becomes the second player who plays in the English Premier League to invest in Ghanaian football. Now, former Ghana U23 midfielder Kwame Poku has been named the League One player for the month of October after an outstanding run with Peterborough United. Now, Poku, who won the award in September, netted 2 goals and delivered 4 assists in 6 matches in October to successfully retain the award he won last month. To results in the English Premier League, Bruno Fernandes marked his 250th Manchester United appearance by playing a starring role as Ruud van Nistelrooy signed off his stint in interim charge with a 3-0 Premier League win over Leicester City. Now, Fernandes scored and delivered an assist in the emphatic win, and here is manager Ruud van Nistelrooy speaking after his last game in charge.
Numbers, then it's 11 scored and 3 against and 3 wins and a draw. So yeah, and that's what football is about. Of course, there's more to it, but the task was clear: to stabilize the ship and to get results coming. Yeah, I think together with the staff members and the players, we managed to do so.
Well, that was Ruud van Nistelrooy speaking after the 3-0 victory over Leicester City in the Premier League. Now, Pedro Neto drilled in a fine equalizer as Chelsea and Arsenal both missed the chance to make up ground on Premier League leaders Liverpool following an entertaining draw at Stamford Bridge. Now, Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta has been lamenting over the inadequacy of his squad due to injuries.
There's nothing that we can change today about that. What I'm just praying is that after the international break I have the team fully equipped physically, that they are available and they are fit, because it's been an absolute nightmare for 8 weeks. Patch after that, issue after issue, not only the ones that are not able to play, but the ones that are able to play only for certain moments, only for certain days, not able to train. So I'm just asking that, because the team, the desire that they have and how much we want it is just no question about that. So it's going to come. We just need that on our side to be able to be more consistent.
Well, that was Mikel Arteta after the 1-1 draw between Arsenal and Chelsea. Meanwhile, Tottenham Hotspurs were stunned by Ipswich Town. Liverpool continued their red-hot run with a 2-0 victory over Aston Villa. Mohamed Salah scored and assisted in the comfortable win. Manchester City lost again after throwing away a first-half lead to lose 2-1 to Brighton. Here is a disappointed Pep.
It's normal, so we won a lot, it happened, but I would like to be all the squad, you know, to have that feeling. You know, maybe we are not there. We cannot do it every 3 days, 3 days, 4 days, 3 days with the situations that we are. So I would love to have the players, you know. But I remember I said previous time, Liverpool from Jurgen after winning Champions League, Premier League, 1 year was Van Dijk in just 6 months, 1 year, and a lot of injuries. And it went to Europa League. So we need that to have it, but now we don't have it. But at the end, we say how we going to play by mistakes, yeah. But in general, it happened. The area is going to come, yeah, for sure. This is not eternal. So in the next 55 years, City is not going to win every year the Premier League, right? So that's for sure. So it's not going to.
Well, that was City manager Pep Guardiola. Away from the English Premier League, 2 results from the La Liga, and leaders Barcelona fell to only their second La Liga defeat of the season at Real Sociedad, with their teenage star Lamine Yamal absent through injury. The results leave Barca 6 points clear at the top of the table, with reigning champions Real Madrid in second with a game in hand. Now, Vinicius Jr. netted a hat-trick as Real Madrid beat Osasuna 4-0 to return to winning ways. Atletico Madrid defeated Real Mallorca 1-0, with Atletico Bilbao sharing the spoils with Real Valladolid. In Italy, Roma have sacked head coach Ivan Juric following Sunday's 3-2 defeat to Bologna, and are searching for their third manager of the season. Meanwhile, Scott McTominay scored as Napoli shared the spoils with Inter Milan. AC Milan drew with Cagliari 3-3. Atalanta closed the gap on leaders Napoli after beating Udinese 2-1, with Juventus beating Torino 2-0 in the Turin derby. In Germany, Dortmund were stunned by Mainz 05, who beat them by 3-1. Bayern Munich defeated St. Pauli 1-0, with Bayern Leverkusen playing out a 1-1 draw with VfL Bochum. And in France, PSG maintained their dominance in Ligue 1 with a 4-2 victory over Angers. AS Monaco defeated Strasbourg, with Marseille losing 3-1 to Auxerre. To some tennis news, and Coco Gauff showed supreme determination to come back from a set and a breakdown to defeat Zheng Qinwen to win the season-ending WTA finals. And finally, in the United States, Lionel Messi scored, but Inter Miami suffered a shocked first-round exit in the MLS playoff. Atlanta United triumphed 3-2 in the best-of-3 decider in Florida after both sides had won one game each. That will be all for sports this morning. My name is Lukman Evergreen Moment. Up next is the business news with Abdullahi Saka.
Stay tuned to your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
Hello and welcome to the business news segment on Business Breakfast on Zed. Coming up, economist proposes key reforms to combat Ghana's persistent inflation. Government raises 5.83 billion Ghana cedis from treasury bills amid strong investor demand. And elsewhere, Bitcoin surges past $80,000 amid market optimism following Trump election victory. I am Saka Abdullahi. Let's now settle for the details. Economist Leslie Dwight Mensah with the Institute for Fiscal Studies has proposed long-term reforms aimed at stabilizing inflation in Ghana, calling for critical improvement in domestic production and exchange rate management to address the country's inflation crisis. In an exclusive interview with Zed Business, Mr. Mensah explained that while Ghana's inflation rate dropped from 54.1% in 2022 to 23.2% in 2023, inflation remains stubbornly high at 22.1% in 2024. He stressed that to achieve sustained low inflation levels, Ghana must undergo a transformation in both agricultural and industrial sectors.
Over the medium to long term, if we aim to achieve and sustain much lower inflation rates than we have been used to, then obviously there has to be a big supply side transformation. Agricultural production, industrial production, there ought to be big transformations in the rate at which the economy is able to supply goods and services. But in the short term, why we have these higher levels of inflation than we were experiencing before the crisis, and why these levels seem to be persistent, but particularly in 2024. In 2023, if you recall, inflation more than halved. It had finished 2022 at 54.1%, then finished 2023 at 23.2%. But in 2024, from 23.2%, it's at 22.1%. It's almost barely moved. You get so there hasn't been much improvement in the inflation situation in 2024, but that is consistent with the fact that there hasn't been much improvement in the exchange rate situation in 2024. In Ghana's experience historically, inflation tends to mirror the behavior of the exchange rate. And if you have the exchange rate depreciating at almost 30% in a single year, we shouldn't be surprised that inflation is above 20%.
You heard economist at the Institute for Fiscal Studies, Leslie Dwight Mensah. Investor confidence in Ghana's Treasury bill surged last Friday, with the government raising 5.83 billion Ghana cedis, exceeding its target of 5.62 billion cedis by 3.16%. This strong response reflects sustained interest in short-term government securities, as all bids across the 91-day, 182-day, and 364-day Treasury bills were accepted. Tessa Capital has more details.
Welcome to a recap of the markets, brought to you by Tessa Capital Limited. Investor interest in Treasury bills increased, with the government raising 5.83 billion cedis, which is 3.61% above its target of 5.62 billion cedis. All bids for the 91-day, 182-day, and 364-day Treasury bills were accepted in Friday's auction. Yields rose across all tenors. The 91-day Treasury bill climbed 26 basis points to clear at 26.83%. The 182-day Treasury bill rose by 9 basis points to 27.68%. And the 364-day increased by 9 basis points to 29.13%. Trading on the Ghana fixed income market grew by 29.3% to 3.71 billion cedis, with Treasury bills accounting for 55.14% of the total volume. Corporate bonds represented 15.53%, new Government of Ghana notes and bonds 15.11%, and sell buyback trades 14.22%. The Ghanaian cedi weakened by 0.31% against the US dollar, but strengthened against the British pound by 0.11% and the euro by 1.05%, closing at 16 cedis 35 pesos per dollar, 21 cedis 9 pesos per British pound, and 17 cedis 50 pesos per euro. On the open market, it ended at 16 cedis 30 pesos per dollar, 21 cedis 14 pesos per British pound, and 17 cedis 58 pesos per euro. The GSE Composite Index rose by 2.2%, driven by gains in shares of Cowbank, EcoBank Transnational, Access Bank, Camelot, MTN Ghana, and Goil. The index closed at 4,629.10 points, showing a 47.88% year-to-date increase. Trading volumes fell by 58.13% to 2.48 million shares, totaling 6.28 million cedis turnover. Financial and ICT stocks are expected to influence the index in the coming week. This brings our review to an end, and from all of us at Tessa Capital, make it a great day. Visit us online at tessacapital.com or call us on 050-154-6859 for more information. Tessa Capital, grow your wealth.
Tessa Capital is a leading financial institution in Ghana, and we're grateful for those market updates. Now, Bitcoin's price has surged above $80,000 for the first time following Donald Trump's decisive victory in the U.S. presidential election. The Republican win, which includes control of the presidency and majority in the Senate, and a likely edge in Congress, has fueled optimism in the cryptocurrency market, driving up prices for digital assets. Trump had pledged to position the U.S. as a global hub for cryptocurrency, promising to reduce regulations and create a strategic Bitcoin stockpile, which investors interpret as a signal for a more crypto-friendly regulatory environment. This year's gains in Bitcoin now exceed 80%, with other cryptocurrencies like Dogecoin also on the rise, partly influenced by prominent Trump supporter Elon Musk's endorsement. Trump's proposed changes include appointing digital asset-friendly regulators and removing Gary Gensler, the current chair of the Securities and Exchange Commission, known for a strict approach toward crypto regulation. Such regulatory shifts could further boost cryptocurrency prices, with some analysts projecting Bitcoin might reach $100,000, though they note that volatility and potential sell-offs remain a risk. Trump's broader agenda of tax cuts and reduced regulation is also supporting gains across major investments, from stocks and bonds to the US dollar. With full control over executive and potentially legislative branches, the Republicans are well positioned to implement this pro-business agenda, pushing bills through both chambers and amplifying market momentum in the wake of the elections. That is all we have for business this morning on Business Breakfast on Zed. Remember, you can find more business news on www.zmultimedia.com. I am Saka Abdullah. Thanks for listening.
Stay tuned.
The streets of Accra, there is a radio that is tuned to this very dial.
For each one of them, fact-checked business information is all they see.
Well, I believe knowing about the strength of the city, the best investment options, and the entire global market is something my business people will appreciate.
For every other news about flights, shipping, and cargo on the segment Transport Today, we've got it all covered.
Tune in to Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM, Monday through to Friday, 6:15 to 10 a.m. Join the show using the hashtag
refresh and endless play. At Lakeside, with a wide array of water attractions, you are guaranteed an unforgettable experience for the whole family. Open Saturdays 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sundays 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Call 0508-598-948 or 0204-775-044. Follow us on all socials at Lakeside Marina Park, Marina Water.
Money. Yes, it is Business Briefs right here on Zed. Here we go. Z 101.9 FM. DJ Wade always laughing at me, saying I'm gonna say Z in the morning. Anyway, I said that for more than 9 months. So if I'm saying Business Breakfast on Zed, you should understand. Today on Business Briefs, Law 30. It's the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Today we're on Law 30. Accomplishments seem effortless. Your actions must seem natural and executed with ease. All the toil and practice that go into them, and also all the clever tricks, must be concealed. When you act effortlessly, as if you could do much more. Avoid the temptation of revealing how hard you work. It only raises questions. Teach no one your tricks, or they'll be used against you. What is the lesson here? Okay, is it a good lesson? Is it a bad lesson? What do you think? As always, your views are welcome. 0544321019 hashtag BBZ on all socials, and you would get into the show with us. Let's continue. Keys to power. I'll share my thoughts on this pretty soon, but let's continue. He said humanity's first notion of power came from primitive encounters with nature. The flash of a lightning in the sky, a sudden flood, the speed and ferocity of a wild animal. These forces required no thinking, no planning. They awed us by their sudden appearance, their gracefulness, and their power over life and death. And this remains a kind of power we've always wanted to imitate. Through science and technology, we've recreated the speed and sublime power of nature, but something is missing. Our machines are noisy and jerky. They reveal their effort. Even the very best creations of technology cannot root out our admiration for things that move easily and effortlessly. So what is he saying? He's saying that to be seen as powerful, even if you are tired, don't give people the impression that you are tired. What is this supposed to serve? That you are a superhuman and that you can't get it wrong? This works only when you are at war, or it works when you are in a combat with someone that you need to defeat. In the office space, this does not really work. Don't work yourself to death just to impress. If you're tired, you're sick, let your colleagues know that you are under the weather. And that they need to help you. It's teamwork. And as you might have realized by now, a chunk of the 48 laws of power is very individualistic, right? It's all about you, how to obtain power, how to make use of the power. But that shouldn't be the case. As a matter of fact, it's teamwork. So if you're not doing too well, you should let your colleagues know. There is no victory to be gained by appearing like you are, Superman. Superman would go into a fight and still come out and his hair is the same. His hair doesn't even look disheveled at all. It looks like he just walked out of this bathhouse. No, let that not be your story. Open up to people when you must. Let them know what you're going through. Let's continue. So that's my initial thoughts on it, but let's continue. He said, the power of children to bend us to their will comes from a kind of seductive charm we feel in the presence of a creature less reflective and more graceful than we are. We cannot return to such a state, but if we can create the appearance of this kind of ease, we elicit in others the kind of primitive awe that nature has always evoked in humankind. So he's saying here that be graceful even when you're tired. Appear like, oh, this is cool, I can do more, and people will begin to see you in a certain light. People begin to admire you in a certain way. Keep the extent of your abilities unknown. The wise man does not allow his knowledge and abilities to be sounded to the bottom if he desires to be honored by all. Right? So that is one thing he's teaching us here. The wise man does not allow his knowledge and abilities to be sounded to the bottom if he desires to be honored by all. He allows you to know them, but not to comprehend them. No one must know the extent of his abilities, lest be disappointed. No one ever has an opportunity of fathoming him entirely. For guesses and doubts about the extent of his talents arouse more veneration than autocratic or accusatory knowledge of them, be they ever so great. What is this supposed to mean? When you are super talented in one area or the other, he's saying that don't let people see where your talents end. So every time they'll be guessing, oh, he could do more, he could do more, he could do more, and it keeps them admiring you and admiring you and admiring you. I'm saying that yes, there are times when this might work. However, by and large, in a group, you need to be open when you're tired or when you've reached a certain limit or so, but not to appear like a superhuman and then you have all these challenges that go with it. So that for me is good advice that we need to take. Don't die under the strain of trying to impress your colleagues because you want them to think you are more than what you actually are. That is a lesson for today on 48 Laws of Power, the business lessons from 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. And coming up, it is Transport Today right about now.
This is the pre-morning.
It's your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
Yeah, it's back again. Abdullah Saka, back to back. Hey, my friend, what is happening in the world above our heads, on our roads, and on our water bodies?
Mr. Ham.
Yep.
Transport Today. And it's important that we let our listeners know the flights that are taking off today from Accra to Kumasi. If they have any businesses to conduct outside of the city, they may want to get a ticket on one of these flights. So let's start with Africa World Airlines. Africa World, and the earliest departure time for Africa World today, being 11th November 2024, is at 12:30 midday, 12:30, and it is due to land at the Prempeh First Airport at 1:10, 10 minutes past 1 in the afternoon. The second flight for the day for Africa World Airlines will take off at 2:20, and then will arrive at Kumasi, or is due to arrive in Kumasi at 3 p.m., exactly 3 p.m. So it leaves Accra 2:20, due to arrive in Kumasi 3 o'clock. The next flight for the day for Africa World Airlines is due to depart the Kotoka International Airport at that's 6. Yes. At 6:30. 6:30, and it will arrive at the Prempeh the First Airport at 7:10, 10 minutes past 7.
Yeah.
And the last flight for the day will take off at 7 p.m. from the Kotoka International Airport and is due to arrive at 7:40. So the last flight for the day for Africa World Airlines today is taking off from the Kotoka International Airport at 7 p.m. and due to arrive at 7:40. And the first flight is taking off at 12:30 midday and will arrive at 1:10. Now let's take Passion Air. Let's take the flight schedule for Passion Air. And for Passion Air, the first flight took off this morning at 6:20 a.m. and arrived at the Prempeh the First Airport in Kumasi at 7 a.m. Second flight for the day will take off from the Kotoka International Airport at 8:50, 50 minutes past 8, and is due to arrive at the Prempeh the First Airport at 9:40. The next flight will take off at 11:20 this morning and is due to arrive exactly at midday. So if you want to get to Kumasi by midday, you may want to take this flight. The next flight will take off at 1:40 p.m. 1:40 p.m. and will arrive at the Kumasi Airport at 2:30. The next flight is at 4 o'clock for Passion Air, 4 o'clock, and will arrive at the Kumasi Airport at 4:40. And the last flight for the day will take off from Kotoka International Airport. Passion Air will take off from Kotoka International Airport at 7:20, 20 minutes past 7, and is due to arrive at the Kumasi Airport at 8:10, 10 minutes past 8. So a reminder that the last flight for the day for African World Airlines will take off at 7 p.m., arrive at 7:40 in Kumasi, and the last flight for Passion Air will take off at 7:20 p.m. and will arrive at the Kumasi Airport at 8:10 p.m. So that is what the flight schedules for the two main domestic flyers looks like for today. So if you have any business to do outside of the city, specifically in Kumasi, you may want to book a ticket for any one of these flights. Let's take some news in the aviation sector. And last week I reported that Virgin Atlantic is making a return to Ghana, intended to ply the London-Accra route. However, Virgin Atlantic has announced a postponement of its return to Accra until further notice.
Are you sure it's not because of Trump? Anything can happen.
So
what is the reason given for that?
So initially it was scheduled to begin in May. Virgin Atlantic was supposed to start operating in Ghana in May 2025. And the delay is attributed to ongoing issues with the Rolls-Royce engines on Virgin's Atlantic Boeing 787 Dreamliner fleets, which were planned for the Accra route. So Boeing again.
Okay. At least let them solve out these issues before they bring the...
Yes, definitely. It's important that they make sure for safety.
When it comes to flights, safety is paramount. Yeah. So if it's for safety reasons, Virgin, take all your sweet time. Check every engine, make sure every bolt and nut is working.
And the doors especially.
Yeah, the ones that can come off during. So Virgin, we beg you, you are coming into Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana. Please, take your time. Don't be in a rush to come. Take your time. Take your sweet time. Here, don't try us.
The odds are already against us. So if you come with 40 engines, then Charlie.
It is what it is. Yeah. So Virgin Atlantic to delay Accra launch. We support. Check your engines. Make sure everything is fine before you come. Any other stories?
Yeah, so I mean that is on that, and this actually was confirmed by the Sean Mendes, who's the Africa aviation specialist, and he confirmed this to Aviation Ghana, that it seems that Virgin has removed the flights on sale, and the postponement is going to be a little extended until the safety issues have been dealt with. All right, let's take other news, where Ghana will welcome Africa's first Airbus A350-1000 aircraft operated by Ethiopian Airlines on Friday. Scheduled to arrive at Kotoka International Airport. The modern aircraft introduces new features and elevates the travel experience for passengers flying to Accra. So the A350-1000 brings several innovations, including the Tails Avant app in-flight entertainment system and HBC Plus connectivity, providing passengers with access to large screens, spacious seating, and immersive landscape camera. Business class travelers will also enjoy direct aisle access from every seat, underscoring Ethiopian Airlines' focus on passenger convenience and comfort. In terms of design and efficiency, it uses a carbon fiber fuselage and fuel-efficient Rolls-Royce Trent XWB engines, and is designed for a more quieter and more efficient haul flight. So basically, the new Ethiopian Airlines Airbus A350-1000 aircraft that would be operational in Ghana is quieter, more comfortable, more convenient, and especially if you're flying in business class like Jerry, you usually do.
No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't.
Like the likes of you and your big boys usually do.
No, yeah, the big boys. Not, I'm way out of that league. I mean, Charlie.
Positive thinking. Why not?
No. Not now, man. Not now. Not now. We'll get there.
Even if you have the money, you keep it there.
Not now, man. Charlie, school fees issues, man. Flying business class. What's wrong with you? Go sit at the back somewhere, man.
Okay.
Go find yourself in economy and get to where you're getting to and stop wasting money.
So someone who flew business class for the first time came and was like, "Hey, Charlie, if you don't have money, you think that everything is equal." Says he was passing through the economy section trying to get to business class, and people were looking at him. He says, "Look at these people in their head; they are thinking, but it's like, no, the experience is different." And I believe anyone who has ever flown business class would have a positive experience to tell you about. It's just totally different. You're in the same plane, but Charlie, different. There's no chicken and beef. They won't come and do any chicken. They'll give you a menu. They won't come and ask you vegetarian chicken or beef. They'll actually bring you a menu, and immediately you sit down, they'll offer you a drink. Hey.
Yeah, but I'm looking. I'm taking a tour inside the
aircraft.
A350-1000 Qatar, the Q Suites business class, and I mean the features are mind blowing.
Incredible.
Yeah, the features
incredible stuff.
It's like a mini cabin.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But economy cabin is even largely unchanged. But I'm seeing like the seats and entertainment systems have been enhanced a little. Yeah, it is what it is. We'll get there.
When you have the opportunity, I mean, just try once in a while. Shame your house people.
Within a year, we'll get there. Don't worry. Within a year, baby. Within a year, baby. Next year. Yeah.
I mean, that is what we have for transport today.
Interesting. The A350-1000 looks very, very impressive. Very, very, very.
I mean, we're really getting somewhere with especially air travel. The improvements are massive.
And for me, like I said last week, the fact that we've really recovered after COVID is so impressive. It's so impressive. I mean, and I think that going forward, what this will do is, whatever pandemic the world faces next, we will now know there's life after the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
not that we are praying for another pandemic.
No, we're not. We're not, far from that. But I mean, there's life. And people we'll be thinking about that going forward as well. So it's good to know. It's good to know. Thank you so much for coming through, Abdullah Saka, with Transport today. Coming up after Transport today, we're going into customer service and experience. Birthday wish. Happy birthday, my love. Every moment with you is a precious gift. In fact, I'm told to let me sit well and do this one. It's the biggest birthday I'm doing this week. Happy birthday, my love. Every moment with you is a precious gift, and I'm so grateful to walk through life by your side. Your kindness, laughter, and love light up my world, and I'm endlessly thankful for you. Here's to another year of amazing memories, adventures, and love. May your day be filled with the joy you bring into my life. I love you more than words can say. And this is coming from Mr. Emmanuel Kante to his beautiful wife, Gifty Kante. Happy birthday, Mrs. Gifty Kante. This is coming from Mr. Emmanuel Multimedia. He said he loves you with every beat of his heart. Every moment with you is a precious gift. Your kindness, your laughter. I mean, if I send my wife this message, it is because I've done something at home.
I mean, I say I'm a poet, but Mr. Kante has proven that I'm not the only poet in Zed Multimedia. Wow.
Hey, people.
Wow.
People
are chopping love.
Happy
birthday, Mrs. Kante.
Happy birthday, Mrs. Gifty Kante from the Zed Multimedia family. We love you just as Hasbi, even more. You know what? If he has done something, that's why he sent me this message. Please, on behalf of Zed, forgive him. Are their experiences that they are saying. So we dissociate ourselves with any remarks that you might find not too good in your ears. We just clearly want to state that these are their views that they're experiencing and that they are expressing because of what they have experienced. It is very important that we lay that clear. So today on Customer Service and Experience Moment is Lisa from Hacho.
My name is Louisa. Some years ago, I think about 6 years ago or 4 years ago, I had an encounter with MTN. I went to MTN mobile money office to replace a SIM. I had a SIM registered with Momo, and I had money on the SIM card. I lost it, went to replace it, and then when I went, it was COVID time, so the person attending to me told me that he was going to replace the SIM, and then because the SIM has been missing for over 6 months or inactive for 6 months, he have to call me so that before I can start using the SIM. He didn't call, only for me to retrieve the SIM, and then there was no money on the SIM card, and I had to register it again, meaning the money on the SIM card was stolen.
Yeah, unfortunate. But you see, the point here is this, that when it comes to customer service challenges, when issues like this happen, when people lose money, really lose money, sometimes, and more often than not, you would have to report this. But this, our dear listener did not tell us the aftermath of this. Yes, so an unfortunate experience happened. What was the aftermath? If she could share that with us, that would help us, because one thing that every single listener needs to know is that which would go wrong, more often than not, would eventually do. Yes, yeah, you heard me right. Right? That which has the possibility of going wrong occasionally goes wrong. And when it does, so it is not the wrong that is the issue. It is what happens when the wrong happens. That is the big issue. We're saying this, that and of course this is Murphy's Law I'm trying to quote here. Murphy's Law. What does Murphy's Law say? Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. If there is a possibility of several things going wrong, the one that will cause the most damage will be the one to go wrong. If there is a worst time for something to go wrong, it will happen at that time. It always happens. Have you realized that it is when you are in a hurry that you can't find your socks? Are you saying at the time you are not in a hurry, you find your socks? It's Murphy's Law. Yes, so in serving customers, there is always the possibility that things will go down south. Things will not go as planned. And so it is important that as and when, as a listener, as a customer, when you experience something that is not in your very best interest, you also tell us how it was solved. Because the problems are not, yes, we want to hear the challenges, but we also want to know what the organization did about that. And depending on the way the organization acts, then we will be in the best of position to pass our commentary on it. But unfortunately, this one, she tried registering, she lost some money that was already on the phone. Unfortunate. But we're hopeful that probably the service providers sorted it out and that everything ended well. But don't forget, the lesson from this is Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And when they do, it is then that you'll be able to show your mettle as an organization. It is not about whether things will go wrong or not. We know occasionally things go wrong. I mean, listen, computers crash, they hang, lights go off, and power plants malfunction, electronic gadgets mess up occasionally. All these things happen. So long as we're in an imperfect world, stuff like this will happen. So for us, it is not about what happens, it is about what is done about what happens. And that is where your service recovery as an organization should be top notch. Any organization that is worth its salt should always have a laid down plan as to how to recover when things go wrong. You must have a service recovery project, that a plan that is sitting there waiting for something to go wrong. And when it goes wrong, you get straight into it. A typical service recovery plan would say that when customers come and ABC happens, that A, this is what you're supposed to do, B, this is what you're supposed to do. So every organization needs a service recovery plan, right? Every organization. It will show how you can get back into winning your customers. A service recovery strategy, you can use it to quickly right the wrongs. quickly right the wrongs, and you can build a simple service recovery strategy on 4 very important things: acknowledge the issue, apologize for the issue, resolve the problem, learn and improve. It's all. It's a very simple thing. Every organization needs to have a service recovery strategy. What would you do if things go wrong? Have it, state it clearly, teach your frontliners. If a customer comes and complains about ABC, this is what we will do. If a customer comes and complains about this, that, this is what we do. So you must have a service recovery strategy. I don't know whether this lady's issue was solved or how it was solved, but I'm saying that organizations like the one she mentioned definitely would have service recovery strategies, and they would use that as and when things go wrong. You know the beautiful thing about service recovery? There is a whole study that there is a whole concept of an idea called the service recovery paradox. What is the service recovery paradox? The service recovery paradox states that customers who have problems that are solved tend to be more loyal to the organization and the brand than customers who never had problems at all. Yeah, you heard me. When you have a problem and it is solved, chances are you become much more attached to that organization because you have had a problem and they've solved it than someone who has not had a problem at all. So if you are rating the affinity of customers to brands, you will realize that those that have had problems with the brand, but those problems were solved amicably, tended to be much more loyal to the brand than those who have never had any problems at all. We call it the service recovery paradox. Read about it. If you're a business executive listening to us this morning, read about it. It could help you in your decisions. But even before that, please have a service recovery strategy, because like Memphis law says, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And that is the lesson for today on customer service and experience moments right here on Business Breakfast on Zed. Once again, 0544321019, 0544321019. On Instagram, on Facebook, and on X, the handle is at ZFMGH. At ZFMGH, ZEDFMGH. On TikTok and YouTube, the handle is at Z Multimedia. The website is zmultimedia.com. You can go there and drop us a message. Hashtag BBZ. That stands for Business Breakfast Z. Business Breakfast. And so you're listening to Business Breakfast on Z. 5 minutes to the top of the hour. When we come back, we're looking at market trends and business analysis. market trend, interest rates and stocks and forex and everything to do with business. Welcome, gentlemen. Mr. Bensford, where have you been? Master, you for Degado. When I look for you, I for find you, man. Don't let me come and look for you in your hostel or your hall or whatever.
Yeah,
because when I come, I'll come with my friends.
I am Mr. Jerry.
We'll come and look for him and pay him a visit. You know, Charlie, what's happening?
Charlie, I've been good. Good weekend. Barca lost, Madrid won. Yeah, everything is in order. You can see God's blessings have started flowing heavily.
Yeah, I spent some time with one of your what do you call it? Assemblies, if I could call it that.
Oh, okay.
One of your congregations, the Peniel Assembly around Latebia Caution.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Did some kingdom entrepreneurship seminar with them. Amazing. I mean, and I charged them
money.
Yeah, no, not that I charge them money. I mean, I give them a charge.
Okay.
To
you
lead,
put them on fire.
Yeah, I put them on fire to lead the kingdom entrepreneurship conversation.
Nice.
And
nice.
That COP cannot go around just giving us powerful praise and worship songs and not take over the market for kingdom issues. Anyway, Charlie, welcome back, gentlemen.
Charlie,
fresh week.
Yeah.
How was the trading week like last week, and what is happening in the whole world of trading? What's up?
Yeah, trading week was quite good. Last week we saw some interesting things globally, but our Mondays are for Ghana, and then Fridays we look at the global markets.
Okay.
Yeah, and so Ghana, as we know, our year open, the price was 3,130.23 on the Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index. As we speak now, our year-to-date return is doing about 47.88%.
Okay.
Which would mean the price has increased. We are now doing around 4,600 over Ghana cedis. So you can see some strong performance on our stock exchange, and this will be underpinned by the entire macroeconomic environment together with how well the individual companies listed on the exchange are also doing. And so maybe briefly we could get into the gainers, the losers, the stable stocks for the past week compared to this week.
Why not? Let's do that.
All right. So for our gainers, our top gainers include Cowbank. They gained 0.06. In other words, their percentage change was 21.43% as at this week. Or as at 8th November, which was last Friday. You remember last week, Monday, when we came here, we looked at their performance up to the end of, that should be 1st November. And so the week on week, you can see they have gained. And then followed by ETI, they are doing 20%. And then Access Bank. So you can see the financial sector.
Isn't that interesting? I was going to ask that. Globally, tech stocks are doing well. In Ghana, it is the banking and finance.
Yeah,
stocks.
But in Ghana, how many tech companies do we even have, and how many are listed on the exchange? None. So it tells you that maybe we need some work to do in terms of our tech industry. All we can have is our telecommunication industry, MTN and the others. MTN as well. Yes. Yeah, but maybe we need some huge investment in technology. We need to have some of these technology companies running here, and then possibly listed on the exchange. Then we would see a better growth even in the performance of our stock exchange. Top traders by volume, of course, MTN will feature more.
Okay.
Yeah, over 3,000 Ghana cedis traded, and that tells you that is about 1,476,543 volume of trade. That's because their share price is more than 2 cedis. It's 2.35.
Okay.
So it tells you MTN leads that change. And then EcoBank Ghana.
Here we go.
Yeah, EcoBank Ghana. Its stock price is about 6 cedis, 6.1.
Which of the players on the market has the highest stock price?
The highest stock price. Wow.
Because if it's 6 cedis, are they the most expensive? Are they in midway? Are they? That is information.
Not the most expensive.
Yeah, that's information that will be good for our listeners, so that if they have money and they want to go onto the Ghana Stock Exchange, we tell them what the prices are.
Because Anglo Gold trades higher, around 37. In fact, even Standard Chartered, that's around 23.
Okay.
Yeah, so in terms of the highest price...
23?
No, 27, Anglo Gold. Anglo Gold
27.
Yeah, the mining industry. They hold it as the best performance. Yeah.
Okay.
So Anglo Gold Ashanti.
37.
37, yeah. And then followed by...
what is Bob's own? Ben's Oil? They are supposed to be listed. Because I know Bob's is supposed to have a high distance.
Yeah, they are doing 22.
Okay, all right. 22. That makes sense. That makes sense.
About 25 now. Yeah. So
okay.
25.
That makes sense. So Anglo Gold is the most distant anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in a world which is going tech, I think this gives us a good indication that maybe we're not doing too well in that direction.
Yeah.
Is it that we're not giving our tech startups the enabling environment for them to be doing some of these things, or is it that they've not seen a need to go onto the market because they've not really seen they don't have the need for those kinds of funds? What would cause our techs? Is there even a tech company listed aside your MTN?
There is none. MTN is not even a tech company, if you like. In the strictest sense, they are they are within the telecommunication industry.
Yeah.
If you look at our exchange, industry by industry, you find the banking sector leading.
Yeah.
There are about 10 companies, properly so-called. You have 8 operational banks, if you like, because something like EcoBank, Transnational Incorporated, I mean, you can still situate it around EcoBank Ghana. So you cannot double count that. And then Trust Bank Limited as well. So in the strictest sense, you have about 8 or 10 banks on the exchange listed, and they are leading. Before, maybe I think the mining sector would follow, because you have about 5 of them there, and then probably you go to distribution and trading industry, about 3 there, and then manufacturing about 3, and so telecommunication is just MTN, unfortunately. So
yeah, well, I mean this is very informative for me. That in a world where Nvidia and Google and this and that, Tesla, I mean, and look at ours, and if you compare what a global trend is like to what we have here, it looks like we are years behind. No, it's true.
Yeah, what you are saying is true. Yeah,
in a world that is driven by tech,
yeah,
our market is being led by finance houses with not a single tech. And that's what I'm asking, that probably going forward, what the two of you can help me with is find out, is it that the tech companies in Ghana are not big enough to be listed? Is it that the tech companies in Ghana don't need the money, so they don't go there, they couldn't be bothered? Are they making their own money? Let's find out why the tech companies are not on the GSC. It's a good discussion. I mean, because I mean the world is being led by tech. We have digitalization being forced to become a big conversation in this.
Oh, is it being forced?
Yeah, I mean, I'm using the word forced because if you are talking, if 2 or more people are, I mean, debating an issue, and only one person is making it a big issue, and other people are not making it that much of a big issue, then it is being forced. That's what I mean by that. I mean, the one that is not being forced is economy. That one, no one will force you. You will have to talk about it.
But then the argument too is that digitalization is
not tech.
It's economy.
Yeah, that's the point. I mean, so I think it's a question that we need to have.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm seeing some wood on the list. Some wood is publishing. Yeah, I mean, I grew up with some wood just around my corner in Dansoman. So yeah, I know some wood. So I'm looking at it, Fan Milk and Girl, and you know, guys, man, not a single one of them. Let's find out from the Ghana Stock Exchange. Have you approached them? Have they approached you? Are there some in the pipeline that we're talking to and all that? If Ghana is going to be the hub of tech, and we're going to push the tech agenda and have the tech conversation, we must have tech companies listed there. It looks good. It looks good. Anyway, that's me ranting.
Yeah, but there is an ICT. I don't want to call it a tech company. It's listed. There's an ICT.
What company?
Industry. Silverstone. don't really know much about it. It's not really one of the top players in there. He has a very low performance. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
what do I mean by low?
Yeah.
0.03. Yeah, that's.
Oh wow! Is that the lowest?
Yes, I think so. That is. If you take produce PBC, produce buying company is under the cocoa. Yeah. PBC also does around 0.02. So it's one of the lowest performing stocks. In fact, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Clydestone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know Clydestone. Yeah. I know Clydestone. So at least we have one there, but I mean, saying
in the strictest tech sense,
yeah.
I mean, we are
but Clydestone, I know Clydestone. They are an ICT company.
Yeah.
When I was in the industry, they used to be a big player, and I think Clydestone is actually not only in Ghana.
Yeah.
There's Clydestone in Nigeria as well. So they're a payment platform. I know they provide. When I was in banking, I knew Clydestone. I mean, so I'm sure it's the same Clydestone that we're talking about. They are one of the very old ones. Been around for a while, Yeah, tech and all that is to do with payments, and they are among those early organizations that were into this whole switch thing and all that. So yeah, I know Clydestone. Solid. Yeah, ATM cash processing and all that. Anyway, so yeah, we have one there, Clydestone, but we want to encourage more and push more. So let's find out a lot more. Anyway, moving forward, what are the stories?
Yeah, Jerry, the total market turnover on the exchange declined by 91% to 6.28 million.
Oh, so you mean over the past week in trading, the composite lost?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of that. And I think it's important to indicate that MTN Ghana and Ecobank Ghana jointly accounted for 74% of market turnover. In other words, total sales were led by these two companies.
Oh, wow.
These two companies account for more than 70% of what happened on the exchange. And so you could see some sales on the market, but it is just two companies driving the sales. And so sometimes it happens. You can say the market is doing well, the market is seeing some sales. However, when you get into the details, you realize that it's just a few people driving that sales. In fact, significant number of the stocks have been stable. Nothing, it looks as though it's, nothing happens. Nothing really happens, yeah.
We need to find out a lot more. What leads to these things? Is it that people are not trading? Is it that people are... Because I have a good idea that some of those shares people bought, they've never attempted to trade. They just hold in every time. And the dividends that come at the end of the year, nobody really minds.
Yeah, talking about dividends, there have been some announcements. So I know Bensu Oil Palm will pay dividend around the 9th of December. The qualifying date is 25th of November. So that has been featured. Anyone who trades with Bensu Oil Palm, 9th December, you are going to get something. And then Ghana Guinness Breweries, I think you know that company as well. They will pay on 30th December. 30th December. So these are, on the exchange, they are dividend paying stocks and non-dividend paying stocks.
Okay.
So yeah, certainly.
When I got into banking, before the mid-2000s, so that give you an idea of how old I am. Before the mid-2000s, yeah. So if 2000, so what I mean before mid-2000 is before 2005, yeah, right. So I remember those days when these organizations listed, what they would do is they would actively court bankers to buy.
Yeah.
So I remember that when one of the banks was going to list, we bankers were encouraged to buy. So I know a number of colleagues who have those shares, but I don't think they've ever thought of trading. I'm sure they've even forgotten those things. Sometimes you go and check your mail, and at the end of the year, they've sent you a huge annual report. You throw it somewhere and move on with your life and all that. But like we're saying, if people actively went there to trade and then buy more and trade more, there will be more life on the floor of the Ghana Stock Exchange. So, hey, it's encouraging. I know there are a number of that. So, and you know why this story comes to mind? Because I think I recall faintly that either Bob or something, that's Ben Sawyer palm plantation. I recall faintly that it was during my time or something in banking that they brought some shares for us to buy or something like that. But the one I recall clearly was CalBank. Yeah, I recall clearly that CalBank shares were sent across. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of Ghanaian bankers who own shares in CalBank, even though they might be quite small. And then also, it's also interesting to find that Camelot Ghana is also listed. And that also falls in line. What is Camelot Ghana? Print house. But what do they do? Print checks for banks.
Yeah.
So you see, it's like there is nothing wrong if we are the financial hub of West Africa. You understand?
Yeah,
If we were like Wall Street of West Africa, then there's nothing wrong with we having a lot of these finance guys playing. But we're not. We're really not. Are we? We're not.
And unfortunately, we are not doing so well in the finance.
Exactly.
And being a resource-dependent countries, natural resources, the companies that are spearheading those things are not also performing that well.
Yeah, we could complain, but anyway, moving on.
Jerry, I want to explain a few things with regards to the dividend, the one I just announced, so that those listening to us will really get it. When we talk about the ex-dividend date, it's actually the cut-off date on which a stock begins trading without the value of its upcoming dividend. What that means is that for you to qualify to receive dividend, say from Ben's Royal Pan or Guinness Brewery, it means that you should have owned a stock before that date. If you own a stock after that date, it means the dividend that will be paid, say on the payment date, you are not going to be part of it.
Okay.
So that is what the ex-dividend date means. And so they have said, so in fact, for Ghana Guinness Brewery Limited, their ex-dividend days has already passed. It was 24th October. And so if you are buying a stock from them now, you do not expect to receive dividend on the 30th
You mean
of
Guinness
December.
Ghana?
Yes, Guinness Ghana.
Okay.
On the 30th of December, you are not going to receive anything. But for Ben's Royal Palm, their ex-dividend date is 21st November. And so if you own a stock before 21st November, then you stand a chance or you are going to receive dividend when they pay on the 9th of December.
Okay.
So that is clear. And then when we come to the qualifying date, that is when the companies will determine who qualifies to receive dividend. Because some may have bought on the ex-dividend day, some may have bought after it and all of that. So they have to properly profile those who are qualified to receive dividend. And then on the payment date, they will settle them with the payment of their dividend.
Okay, it's good to know. It's good to know. It's good to know. Moving on.
Yeah, so let's look at Africa in general. It's good to identify a few things in Africa. There are a lot of exchanges in Africa. We want to look at the performance of our exchanges. Now, Jerry, I want us to do some comparison in terms of how policy rates, policy rate is the rate that is determined by the central bank in terms of borrowing and all of that. How policy rate differs amongst the countries.
Okay.
Yeah. And one of the highest is Ghana and Egypt. Egypt is doing 27.25%. Ghana is doing 27%. So in terms of policy rates, countries with exchanges, Ghana is one of the highest. I think it's important to understand. And there are countries doing as low as 2.15%.
Let's go borrow money from there. What country?
Botswana. It's not about just going to borrow money from there. But if you go there, you go and borrow money from there, and you are changing it to your currency, what is the level of depreciation or the exchange rate?
First of all, what currency does
Botswana?
Yes. Tell me what, and then let's look at the rates. And you see that we by the time we are done, we'll still go there and go and borrow money.
We'll borrow money from Botswana.
Yes.
That would be interesting.
Botswana's currency is the Botswanan Pula. One Pula is 1.24 Ghana cedis. Why do you look at me?
Yeah.
So we should go down there. You see what I'm saying? One Pula is 1.24 Ghana cedis.
Yeah, but I don't think we want an overrun. I don't want to incite people to go and borrow money from Botswana. I come and do business in Ghana. Yeah, but I mean,
you thought I was going to say one Pula is no. It's almost at par.
Yeah.
It's almost at par.
And interestingly, their inflation is about 30%. 12.6%.
We're going to Botswana, baby.
But I think.
Meanwhile, we are doing a 22-point-something percent inflation.
Yeah. So borrowing here, which kind of borrowing are you doing? From government or from institutions? So
Institutions is talking
okay,
about.
if institutions, then
It will go up a bit.
Yeah, and also they should have
Would it
some.
move from 2-point-something to 20-something?
That's a lot.
They should have some confidence like,
in the economy that things will do well in the economy. But I mean, that's it's what it is. It is what it is. But maybe with our notable peers, it will be interesting to know, because Botswana is certainly not our notable peers. We don't. I mean, everybody has peers.
Yeah.
Real Madrid, Barcelona, Asante Kotoko has a folk.
Why is Botswana not a peer of Ghana?
Botswana is not our peers. Our peers include Cote d'Ivoire. I mean, how are they?
Is it location?
Not only location, in terms of
GDP.
strength of economy, GDP, and what have you. Botswana doesn't come close to us.
Why?
Development-wise. I mean, when you are looking at countries' development and all, no, Botswana doesn't come. Our peers are Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, South Africa.
Where is he getting these things from?
No, when you are talking about economies doing well in Africa and all, have you heard Botswana's name mentioned before?
Yeah, because maybe they are doing
You've
so
heard their
well.
name. No.
Maybe they are doing so well, they don't need you.
No,
They don't
countries
need
you hear: Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, Rwanda.
Yeah.
These are the countries, probably Kenya. These are the countries you are going to hear. But Botswana, no, Jerry.
Okay, let's do a comparison. What would you want us to compare?
No, you because of the inflation and the policy rate.
Okay.
You think they are peers? No,
First of all,
let's look at the GDP per capita.
First of all, let's level it that averagely we're supposed to be what? 30 million, are we?
Yeah, 32 million.
32 thereabout. Botswana is like 2.6 million.
So they are not happy.
No. So they're a small country, we're a huge country compared to them. They are like 10 times. All right. Okay, put that one aside. What can we use again? Because GDP would give you a good enough indication, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but the GDP is not enough. That is why we do the GDP per capita, so that you divide it by the population.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So let's do Botswana GDP per capita and then do yours. What is Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana's GDP per capita?
I'm going to this discussion.
We already having it.
I have the figures.
We're already having a discussion. You're telling me you're going to it. We're already having it. What is Ghana's GDP per capita?
They are not our peers.
Mr. Mensah, if Mr. Boateng.
Okay, Botswana is doing over $7,000.
And you are doing what?
2,000.
And
it is shy.
Yeah, I mean, I get where you are going to.
How dare you say Botswana is not our peer?
Jerry.
What? Jerry what?
What is their population again?
2-point-something million.
And that is just like Ashanti region.
I don't care. So we went for the most realistic comparison. If
that is the case, then they should be the best country in Africa, because even South Africa is in.
Yeah, you are. You are
about
30 million. You're telling me you are 30 million. You're telling me your peers are the 200 million, or Nigeria? How many are they? We are not even sure.
Nigeria, they are doing, because they are more than us. They are also doing about $1,600 GDP per capita. I mean, for the GDP per capita, it's good. But Jerry, in terms of, when we go to World Bank, their development indicators, and you check for.
Give me any other realistic comparison between countries so that we'll compare Botswana
like
to
developing countries, low middle income countries.
Charlie,
we don't
Botswana,
rank.
it's a big player. Don't dare go
Jerry,
there.
I know. Okay, Botswana is a big player according to Jerry. Botswana is not Ghana's notable peer according to Ima.
That's the language Canada understand.
Yes, it's a notable peer.
Notable peer.
Yes.
The guys a higher GDP. Okay. If GDP per capita is an indication of quality of life.
Yeah. Economic development.
Are we not seeing
they have a better quality?
Oh, Charlie.
You have to back that by some qualitative factors.
So give me those. Tell me. This is
poverty rates.
He's got to check poverty rate and check employment between Ghana and Botswana. How dare you come and sit
realize
here
that
and
their
say,
population is very low.
what has that got to do with anything? That's what I'm saying. Be
So
as
it
realistic
means that
as possible.
there's a problem with the Ghanaian economy, because if your population is large,
Don't even sit here and convince me that 30 million is large. Not when our big brothers are 200 million and things like that. So let's not use 30 million as a large thing. 30 million no big. 30 million is not big.
someone
Please.
is in 2.2, 30.
30 million. How can you tell me 30 million is big when you have
Jerry, let's
200?
not compare Botswana to Ghana. I don't want us to
You're
do
becoming
it.
embarrassed by the day.
Oh, the thing is,
employment.
I won't talk about it.
if you are looking at 30 million, 2.2 employment, so right now, the question is, how many companies there are doing well?
All I'm saying is this, Mr. Bensford Mensah. I'm saying simply that you use all your University of Ghana knowledge and give me the most realistic
GDP per capita.
And he's beating you there.
But
bring another one to let him beat you there.
Okay, so
Mr. Boateng is afraid of bringing employment rates and bringing other indicators. You bring others. Let's compare Botswana
So
to
the
Ghana.
reason why we are seeing all this is because we have the population, we have the labor force, but we are not using it wisely. That's the problem. But then realistically, we should perform more than them.
Okay, where is Ghana in terms of the income level of Ghana? Are we middle, lower, middle? Where are we? What do they define us at? Iman, where do we sit?
Recently, the Ghana is at the lower middle income.
We are lower middle income. Botswana is upper middle income. How are you comparing yourself?
It is
to
because
them?
of their GDP per capita.
Fantastic.
population.
So bring another. All I'm saying is,
if you are
they will
sharing
beat
the
you.
national
Jerry, in
cake,
terms of the data you are pulling,
They will beat you on
trend,
every
yes,
step.
they will trend.
Let's look for
That's
employment.
why I said we shouldn't get into it.
Employment. Let's do last one.
employment definitely they are going to beat.
Jerry, you have
Ghanaian
a small
because-
household, so you do better than me with a high household.
Oh, so you're saying that if Nigerians are talking
Is
about
Nigeria's
Ghanaians-
Nigeria's GDP capita per income greater than Ghana's?
No, I'm saying that you are saying that if you're arguing with a Nigerian on who has a better economy and things, the Nigerian should keep quiet when you say, oh, we are just 30 million. Or if the Nigerian tells you, you are just 30 million, that's why you have a better...
That is Ghana and Nigeria. It's a different discussion.
That's a job of war. So please, don't ever come into my studio and tell me that Botswana, I can't.
I'll come back stronger. I'll go and look for some data that will put Ghana up there.
I will love it.
Because like financial inclusion.
Seriously.
Like level of education. There are some data that will put Ghana up above.
Go bring it.
Oh yes, I mean HDI, Human Development Indicators.
Can we look at life expectancy?
You have the data, you've seen it, and you want to trap me into it. You've seen the data, you know they are doing better than Ghana, and you want to trap me. You know, a country with about 32 million people, comparing it to a country,
2.2
and you are
million.
talking about life expectancy. Look at the number of funerals on Fridays and Saturdays in Ghana. And you want to talk about life, when I know Ghana's life expectancy is around 60 or so.
Gaborone people, Gaborone. We're going to the Kalahari Game Reserve to see all their beautiful animals. But it's all good. And this is just good
If
banter.
you want to know that an economy is strong, you look at, as you mentioned, the economic indicators.
Bring another one. Mr. Boateng said we should
Let's
look
look
at
at
the
it. When you
FDIs.
look at the financial matrices and performance, Botswana does better than Ghana. I mean, I'll have to admit it. That is the truth.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Finally, he's admitted.
Oh yeah, I mean, I knew it from the onset, but I'm saying Ghana is better than Botswana.
I'm grateful. They never go.
Okay, let me ask you one question. Ghana and the US, who owes a lot in terms of debt?
Of course, the US.
Who is better?
Of course, the US.
Okay.
Why? Because
it's okay.
They are making
good
use of their debt.
Exactly.
Yep.
So the point we are making is that if Ghana can become a bit more efficient in the utilization of its resources,
Labor, especially labor.
What Mr. Boateng is afraid to do is that if he dares compare a country like Botswana to Ghana, he would make statements that will put him into trouble. So politicians might call him after because he's going to put his own Ghana on the blast, and he's not doing that. So he's saying, oh, they are not our peers.
And there are peers. Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast has a policy rate of 5.5%.
You see, even your peers.
Yes.
And yours is what? 20 something.
27. I mean, a cool 27%.
Even your peers.
And their inflation is 4%. Yeah. I mean,
can we look at GDP growth rate, the growth rate
compared to
between
what?
Ghana and Ivory Coast?
Oh, you want to go to Botswana again?
Wait, between Botswana and Ghana. No, let's not get there. Let's not get there.
Best one still wants to do Botswana.
No, maybe it is something we can take on, do, and come and have some discussion on how African countries are doing. But today, let's just focus on our indices and
anytime you're ready, I'll be here with a Botswana flag.
Yeah, I mean, and Kenya has a policy rate of 13% with an inflation of 3.6%. Jerry, why am I doing all of this? I'm doing all of this to show that when it comes to inflation and policy rates, Ghana is one of the highest in the sub-region.
Here we go.
And maybe it's something we need to take a look at. It is Egypt that is having an inflation of 25.7. That is more than ours. And Nigeria, of course. And Nigeria, of course.
Yeah, you would understand. I mean,
yes, and Nigeria has a policy rate of 26.25.
But did I add that with all of the things I've said about the Botswana, and that's the last thing I'm saying, before you people come back with more information, it's even a landlocked country. They don't even have your ports that you, assuming Botswana had a port.
The thing is,
there is no thing anywhere.
Assuming their population is very huge and they are landlocked.
You are going back to the population issue again.
So the thing is, holding other variables constant.
Yes, a terrorist paribus.
A cons.
Yes, a terrorist paribus.
Do better. We Ghanaians, we are supposed to.
Exactly my point.
But we are not doing better.
Making use of our
here we go.
Efficiently.
What is Botswana's biggest export? Diamonds. They are the diamond capital of Africa.
But we have gold.
Thank you very much.
Who is the highest exporter of gold? So why? Oh, but Jerry must also add some context. I nearly forgot. Diamond is more expensive compared to gold.
Oh, so you don't have diamond?
We have diamond.
The country.
Ghana doesn't have diamond.
Back in JHS,
hey,
you know this thing in social studies.
You didn't learn Akwetia and things.
Yes, we shall mine gold in all these places.
The volume of it. Oh, maybe they have more than that.
Oh, so they have more diamond than us.
Obuasi, Christian.
You won't win a Botswana argument in this office, so trust me.
We will come back stronger.
Please come back stronger.
Yeah. Diamond is at Akwetia.
We also learnt it in our days.
Yeah.
There was a whole song about it.
Yeah, it is a song. We shall mine gold in all these places. Konongo, Boasi, Pristia.
We learnt it.
Can we check Diamond at Akwetia.
Oh, so you are diamond at Akwetia. And you are telling me that they have diamond, you don't have diamond.
I said we have, but maybe the volume, the quantity.
Oh, they have more diamond than us. Now that's the argument.
No, I mean, we are not known for diamond exports.
Okay.
That's what I would say. I mean, we are known for gold and cocoa.
I have no problem.
Yeah.
You can come back next time for us.
Oh, I'll come back stronger. I'll come back stronger.
Oh, did I also add before you go and bring your information that they have a national carrier?
We also have a national carrier.
Tell me, what's the name? Ghana Airways. What's the name of your national carrier?
It's not a restaurant. I think the restaurant also collapsed. Are you aware of that, right?
Ghana Airways.
Yeah, aware of that. A lot of things happened.
Everything shows that.
There's
discipline in the economy.
Something
like that. There's discipline because a country with a population of 2.2.
Yeah.
I mean, you should be producing less. You should be even employing people from abroad. We have the population. We are not using them efficiently and effectively. That's why we are seeing all these things.
Yeah.
Accepted.
Jerry,
yes, boss.
Our fixed income primary markets, our 91-day treasury bill is now at 26.56%. That is a 37 basis points increase compared to the previous date. That is like 0.37%.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, and then 182 days has also seen some increase, 27.58%. That's 0.29% increase. And then the 364-day treasury bill rate is 29.04%, 7 basis points. That's 0.07% increase. And that's important to note. So if you have some money you want to invest in treasury bill, these are the rates they are going for. that you can. And we must, listeners must understand, an investment in treasury bill is actually means you are borrowing money to the government.
You're lending money to
you are lending money to the government. And you earn some interest on it.
Yeah.
Sometimes people think, oh, treasury bill, they really don't know what they are doing. And notes, I mean, even with DDEP, there was no haircut on treasury bill. There will be no haircut on it. Otherwise, our textbooks would be wrong.
Yeah.
Our textbooks would be wrong.
Anyway.
Year on year, our headline inflation is now 22.1%. That's a 60 basis points increment from previous year.
Okay.
Yeah. And maybe I'll leave you to explain the headline and the core inflation. And then our food inflation is 22.8%. Our food inflation. You know, our inflation now is 22.15% for October. Yeah. And our non-food inflation is 22.5%. Food inflation is still highest. It has been the trend almost.
Yeah.
For some time now. So these are some of our financial indicators and matrices.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what you're doing.
Anyway, Botswana also won gold at the Olympic Games.
Oh, Jerry.
They won gold at the Olympic Games. Tebogo was the
where do you come from?
Oh, that's where we are getting to now.
Why? I brought Botswana up and I've taken it out.
You've taken it out?
Yes.
Okay, then let's continue.
Let me talk about a country that Ghana is doing better than.
Check their corruption index. Check their corruption index.
He wants to go to corruption index.
This guy wants to kill us.
You realize that I'm trying to tell you that maybe there's fiscal discipline in the country.
Oh, don't worry.
There's fiscal discipline.
Are you saying there's fiscal discipline in Ghana? Is that what he's saying?
We'll check. Botswana Corruption Index. 2023 Transparency International Corruption Perception Index gave Botswana a score of 59 on a scale of 0, highly corrupt, to 100, very clean. So they are at 59.
So they are 59.
They're sitting in the middle, right?
Okay.
And then when ranked by score, Botswana ranked 39th among the 180 countries. Among the 180 countries in the index. Let's go to Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana. Let's go to Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana. Ghana Corruption Index. Ghana. Anyway, let's go in there. Let's see. The perceived corruption rank of Ghana dropped from 72 to 72 from 73 in the previous year.
So you are better than them. 100 is very clean.
Yeah.
And they are doing 50.
Yes, so are you happy now?
So the thing is that if we put in more effort,
we'll do better.
We'll do more.
Hey,
he has found a way.
Effort. Anyway, so I mean, any other stories on the business front that you want to share with us before we go?
So the thing is that to our audience, those who don't know about the Ghana Stock Exchange, maybe they will want to trade, they will want to buy or sell. Right, you don't just go on the site to buy or sell. You need what we call a license, broker, or let's say a stock broker. So so I think in our next session or in our upcoming sessions, we are going to educate people on how to buy or sell, and which companies are actually performing well, which ones should they invest in. Given high inflation, which ones should they actually invest in to protect their investments? And we'll also be talking about the companies listed and their long-term, forecast, how they are going to maneuver their way through this particular economic hardship. Yeah, so we will be looking at those ones too.
Fantastic. I'm sure listeners would do well to listen.
I mean, some people are interested in buying, but they don't know where to buy. How should I even credit my account? They don't know.
Okay.
So it will be another or a whole
fantastic. That is what we're here to do. Business Breakfast on Zed, ensuring that you stay ahead of the business conversation. We help you do that and more. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming through. Mr. Emmanuel Boateng and Mr. Bensford Mensah. You've done a great job. Just that someone has sent a message. Ghanaians will start leaving to Botswana.
Who sent that?
They should go.
No.
They should wait after the elections.
No.
They can go
stay
visit.
In Ghana. Ghana is doing well. What that also means is that I think your returns on your investments in Ghana will be better off than in Botswana.
Why?
Our interest rate is high. and their interest rate is low. However, borrowing there will also be better than borrowing here. So it's a trade-off. You choose what you want, but stay in Ghana. Ghana first. Yeah. Ghana is the center of the world.
Yeah.
Be in Ghana.
See the things we used to run our mouth. Center of the world, close to the equator, GMT. Somebody's using tech and things to run this country. Don't forget that a chunk of that country is actually desert.
Yeah.
Think about that. A chunk of that country is desert. The Kalahari Desert.
That's the whole point. Is the theory of comparative advantage.
Anyway,
you see what you are good at, you do it efficiently, you earn more, you become known for it.
Yeah, because I'm sure their grass will be greener than the ones we have here.
No.
Yeah, because I mean, ask your producer when she went to Dubai, didn't she see that the grass in Dubai was
that's
greener
artificial?
No, proper grass. Proper grass being watered by underground.
Okay, we also have
everywhere in Dubai.
Everywhere in Dubai. Not
Listen,
everywhere.
What we're saying is grass that is planted in the desert. Grass that is planted in the desert looks greener than the one in front of Jubilee House.
And I'm saying, have you been to my grandmother's village?
All I'm saying is this.
Have you seen the grass
that
there?
When you are intentional about something, you do far better than when you leave it. Because
so we've not been intentional about the grass at the Jubilee House.
I'm not saying Jubilee House grass. I'm just saying.
You compare that to
because you wanted me to compare something. I'm just
use
saying.
my grandmother's grass.
No, you see what? You know why I'm using Jubilee House? I'm using Jubilee House because that's the place we will be most intentional about keeping it green. But I'm saying that we don't, and if we don't, the laws will catch us. And the laws of life, we cannot run away from them. If you jump from the top, you're coming down. One of the laws that is happening in beautiful Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana is the second law of thermodynamics, the law of entropy, right?
Yeah.
Because as one goes forward in time, the net entropy, that's the degree of disorder of an isolated or closed system, would always increase. Buy a house and leave it. Don't go and stay in there. Don't go there. Don't even pass by the house. Entropy will catch that house. By the time you go there 5 years time, the house is run down. Nobody went there to do anything. Entropy just attacked it. So when we are intentional about certain things, it wouldn't happen. Anyway, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. It's always a great conversation we have. I love it. Next time you come back, bring more information about the beautiful country.
About Botswana. I won't get into that discussion again.
Fantastic.
we will delve into other things.
I'll go and bring some data that will put Ghana up.
Wait,
and then I'll bring Botswana.
Wait. You know the clearest place you competed with Botswana?
Corruption.
In the 200 meters at the Olympic Games in Paris. Your 200 meters guys didn't even qualify to go to the second round. Their 200 guy won. How dare you say they are not your co-equals?
Mr. Host, are we done?
We are done. Have a wonderful day, gentlemen. When we come back, we're doing a big conversation around the round table. highlight issues such as high inflation, the public debt that keeps rising, and the unsustainable fiscal deficit that continues to strain the nation's financial stability. Our conversation will also examine the adverse effects of currency depreciation, the difficulty in diversifying the economy beyond natural resources, and the challenges of creating sufficient jobs for a youthful population. Additionally, we will look at the impact of global economic trends such as fluctuating commodity prices on Ghana's growth prospects. Through this we would go through this conversation and go deep. We'll try and probe deeper to see where that need comes from. Some have called for a need for comprehensive reforms, improved governance, and investment in key sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, and infrastructure to ensure sustainable long-term development. So these are the discussions we'll be having today, the pain points, the economic pain points of Ghanaians today. And Mr. Ahulu is in the studio seated, and I'm also joined by my colleague, Mr. Emmanuel Boatin from our research and analysis desk. Good morning, Mr. Ahulu, and welcome to Z101.9 FM.
Good morning, Jerry, and thanks for the warm welcome, and good morning to our listeners.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. When we talk of economy and we're listening, one of the first words that comes up is inflation. So high inflation. Someone has said that high inflation is one of the biggest banes of this economy. What are the main factors contributing to the high inflation rate in Ghana?
Thanks, Jerry. There are actually a lot of factors when you look at what causes inflation. Broadly speaking, we can divide the factors into two. We can have what we call the demand pull inflation, or factors that are on the demand side, and then we can have also what we call cost push inflation, which is
demand pull and cost push
inflation.
Okay.
Right. Now, when we look at the demand side, we're talking basically about people making demand for goods, or people want to buy goods and services, and for that matter, they want to pay a price for that goods and services. On the contrary, the suppliers of goods may not be sufficient.
Okay.
And for that matter, it's going to be the highest bidder wins, and so price will go up. If you take a typical example, if you take the US dollar as a commodity, for example, that is trading, people are buying the US dollar and people are selling the US dollar. Currently, the situation we have is that more people want to buy US dollars as compared to the number of people willing to sell US dollars. So obviously, the price will go up. So there are a couple of factors on that side. And then on the supply side, where we have cost push, right? So the cost of production necessitates that a certain price be fixed as the selling price. Largely in this country, one would say we are an import-driven economy, meaning we don't produce much. A lot of the things that are sold in the supermarkets and in the shops are things that are imported. And for that matter, as long as the foreign currency is not stable or is depreciating, you will have suppliers factoring those depreciation into their pricing, and then you have price escalating. When you have fuel price go up, for example, right, when you go to the hinterlands, you may get agriculture produce being very cheap. However, you come to Accra and it's a completely different thing, because somebody has to incur cost, logistics, fuel to transport these goods into the city. And by the time they arrive, they will have to factor all that into the selling price.
Okay.
So there are diverse causes of inflation. I must say some, or the majority of them are within our control, but obviously some are not within our control. So just to summarize. Yeah.
So those within our control, which are they, and why haven't we done something about them? And why are we struggling to do something about them?
Again, that's it's a myriad of challenges. For those within our control, again, we have taxed people within the economy to take the lead in terms of controlling those. So, for example, if you look at food prices, right? I mean, if we have a very good road network if we have logistics, if we have warehouses that are closer to the cities, obviously the price of food and food items will come down. The question is, why are we not doing it? I'm not sure I have a
you have an answer to that. Yeah, I get it.
But obviously we see the root causes. We know what we can do in order to reduce food prices. Again, you go to the hinterlands, right, and you will find situations where you find what we call post-harvest losses. Right?
Exactly.
So corn, soya, mango, even fruit, salads, tomatoes, during the harvest season sit in these places only to rot, right? The question is, can we do something about them? In my view, yes, we can do something about them. Why are we not doing something about them? That I don't know.
What can we do about them? Putting warehousing all over the place.
Yes, putting warehousing, processing this. So let's take tomatoes, for example, right? If we have tomatoes that it ends the harvest season.
The glut season.
Yes, one of the ways of keeping tomatoes is to process it, right? Set up a tomato processing factory, process it into paste, and then can them for future use, right? On the other hand, you could, if you have a very good road network from the hinterlands into the cities, then the transit time between sending these vegetables from the hinterland to Accra is very short, right? So they arrive early. Consumers are able to buy them and keep them in their fridges and freezers for as long as they want to. And so making the logistics available is one way. Processing them into paste is another way. Empowering even the farmers to be able to have some form of storage, at least a month before they are able to get rid of them, is another. So yeah, those are some of the ways.
Interesting. Rising public debt has become a big issue. How has Ghana's rising public debt affected our economic stability and growth prospects?
It has affected us quite a lot, hugely, and I'll explain. So, government basically is a spender. I mean, and government spends by finding money in a couple of ways, either by taxing people through fiscal policy, or government prints money. Money supply or borrowing going on the money market. Now, the higher the public debt, the less amount of money government has of its tax revenue for development. So if you have your debt to GDP, let's say around 100%, the interest that you have to service on an annual basis can consume almost the entire of your tax revenue, thereby leaving nothing
for you to develop.
And so it's very important that much as, of course, in economics we will say that some amount of borrowing is important for the economy, right? So you need to find a good balance between debt and equity. In the private sector we say debt and equity, but government will say taxation and debt. You have to find that balance so that you don't have a situation where you're spending more than 50% of your tax revenue in servicing those debts. Apart from the challenge of not having additional revenue to develop because you have to finance those debts, you may run into a situation where lenders may be hesitant at even lending to you, right? And if that happens, obviously you find yourself in a very difficult situation, and the consequences, if government cannot develop or they don't have extra income to create the space for private sector to thrive, obviously everybody suffers.
That's quite interesting. So, because I want us to touch on the issues that are prevalent within the economy, and then we'll come down to which ones are the economic pain points. So we've spoken about inflation, we've spoken about public debt. Can we touch on depreciation of the Ghanaian cedi?
Yes, of course.
What role has that also played in our challenges?
So again, it has been a very, very difficult past few years for us as a country. the depreciation of the cedi has played a huge role in the economic challenges that we face. A lot of the euro debt, for example, are in foreign currency. A lot of the imports from abroad are in foreign currency. Now it's even getting worse if you talk of the likes of Starlink that people are subscribing to. That's all in foreign currency. Even though your cedi account may be debited, ultimately the central bank has to bankroll that in order to pay Starlink, right? Now, with this demand on the dollar comes the depreciation. The impact of this is that every time you go to the supermarket to buy something that is imported, the price will be different. Because even though the seller from abroad is selling the product at, let's say, $10, the rate between the cedi and the dollar at the time that you're buying it may not be 1:1. It may be, let's say, 1:10, for example, and that's 100 cedis. Of course, the shop owner is thinking ahead and knows that he has a very fixed working capital. Let's say he starts with 1,000 cedis as his working capital, right? Which 1,000 cedis gave him, let's say, $100. Every time he's able to buy, let's say, 10 items. So as the cedi depreciates, the only way he or she can keep that working capital is to increase the price. Otherwise, in no time, it's going to erode the entire working capital, right? So the depreciation plays a very huge role in the inflation that we see in the economy.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Now that we're done with the basics of it, why is a country so blessed with natural resources struggling?
That's a question for I think the entire country to answer. I will do my best to provide my view of why I think we are struggling. Obviously, there are a lot of natural resources in this country. We've got gold, we've got cocoa, we've got natural resources, we've got vegetation, we've got arable land. So your question is, why are we struggling? My view is we have not prioritized properly what is important to us as a people. I think a lot of the time, in my view, people have focused on what benefits them. People have focused on short-term incentives. People have not focused on the big picture. People have not focused on what will benefit us as a people, as a country, right? Quick wins, quick solutions, quick fixes has been the order of the day instead of sustainable long-term solutions, right? We have not taken a nationalistic view to issues. We have taken partisan, myopic view to issues, right? I mean, I usually make a joke and say, I think one day when we go to heaven, God is going to give us some canes for starving in this country. And the reason I say that is that there is nowhere in this country that you put a seed that it will not grow. Okay, so why haven't we developed agriculture? We've just paid lip service to agriculture. Why haven't we put the structures, the systems in place? Why haven't we empowered the youth? Why haven't we tailored our educational system to make our people have the mindset of production rather than white-collar jobs, right? I mean, I came out of uni some 20 or 21 years ago, and off the top of my mind, or what I was looking for was, or my idea of a job is to sit in some office with a tie, with a computer in front of me. And I think that's still what's going on in our universities, right? We need a mindset shift. We need to change the curriculum. We need to produce. We need to produce something, right? Even if it's just food that we produce. And I think if we can feed ourselves, it is the first step to economic empowerment.
If we can feed ourselves, yes, and we have everything needed to feed ourselves.
We have more than everything. We have more than everything.
So now the part of why we are not doing that one, we'll leave it to the listeners for them to decide.
We will leave it to the listeners to decide. We'll leave that to them to decide.
Mr. Watson, you see why I'm worried. You see why this morning I'm so against anybody who try and make this thing. A nation that is rich in natural resources. And this conversation we're having, this is nothing to do with any government in power.
No.
It's been there since.
Yeah.
Is it pre-colonial, or it became a problem when we handed our destiny into our own hands?
Jerry, I think we've not moved beyond the Gettysburg economy.
What they left us is what we are running.
Yeah, that template is still being used up to today.
In education, in everything, in industry.
More particularly in agriculture.
In agric.
Because we failed to have value addition. We failed to diversify. You see, a lot of our people, the data tells us, are employed in the agric sector. However, that agric sector, even if that is our backbone, we have failed to open it up. So
what they left us is what we're still running.
It's still what we are running. Produce,
send it to them.
Exactly.
So your railway lines also show that everything must actually be sent out.
Exactly. And if you look at the way things were done around the colonial era, that is why it's more difficult moving from Ghana to, say, Kenya or South Africa. I mean, goods.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
From Ghana to, say, the US or any of the European countries. And I think until we move away from that, we may still get stuck or be stuck in this.
And, Jerry, the other thing too is that it's not in the interest of the developed world that we are able to feed ourselves. Okay. And the reason it's not in their interest is that once we begin to feed ourselves, we will become less dependent on them in terms of food. And if you look at the West, for example, they subsidize their farmers hugely in order for them to produce, and so they can export to Africa and to the less developed countries. Now, let's turn to our poultry farmers and our pig farmers. And I also speak here with an experience, right? A vast majority of them can't afford feed. And why is that so? Because partly, as a country, we have imposed so much taxes on the ingredients for feed that by the time the feed is landing, it's so expensive that the cost of producing a chicken or a pig in this country is becoming unsustainable, right? Now, apart from the input cost coming from the origin being expensive, we have also added significant taxes on it.
At the port,
and even aside the port, even at the retail joints, we've added VAT and all sort of stuff on it, right? To the point where now people find it more economical or more affordable to import chicken or to import pork into this country.
So someone somewhere is deliberately putting in place policies to ensure that we are unable to produce and we are forced to import.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this is common knowledge to everybody, including those who are leading us.
Of course.
And is it that their hands are tied behind them? That's why they can't do anything.
But Jerry, when you look at sometimes our inflation figures, you would notice that significantly it's import driven. However, when you look at the prices of the things we are importing relative to what is on our traditional market, you realize that what we are importing is cheaper relative to what we have on our traditional market.
Yeah, because Mr. Hulu has clearly explained why.
Yeah.
It becomes more expensive for you to produce here than to import.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And you as a buyer would rather you buy at a cheaper price.
No. You led. You go for the one that you can.
You can afford. Yeah, that's what you can afford.
So your side of the equation, we shouldn't even be bothered about. Yes. But then, in the long run, it is the country that is suffering.
Yeah, and so when I hear the policymakers sometimes say we have a high taste for foreign goods, without really addressing the fundamental issues, because for instance, in Nigeria,
so it's not that we have a high taste for foreign goods.
No, it's
a mix of things.
I mean, look,
it's the fact that what we can afford is what we are buying.
Yes. Let's take poultry, for example, and let's take pork, right? Which of us in this country will say they would rather not prefer go to a poultry farm and buy a live bird, slaughter it, and have a fresh meal? Which of us will say, I don't like that. I rather want the one that is frozen.
And we don't know how long it's been frozen.
The only reason people opt for that option is because it's the cheaper of the two.
That's what they can afford.
That's what they can afford.
Sad, but true. Sad, but true. Poultry, pork, and this extends into other areas, vegetables, and the rest. It's fast approaching 9:20. Mondays, we have what we call the Ghana Report. We talk Ghana. We talk the challenges facing Ghana. This is the Business Breakfast on Zed. It's on 101.9 FM. It's an experience you don't want to miss. Conversations that makes you sit up and ask quick questions. And like I keep saying, with Zed, you have the last word. When you go and say, I had it on Zed, that should end the question. 9:20. We're having Mr. Ebenezer Hulu here, and I'm also joined by my colleague from research and analysis. His name is Emmanuel Boatin. Today was arguing with me about Botswana. You heard him. Anyway, so let's move on to another pain point. Jobs. What have been the key obstacles to creating enough jobs for these teeming youthful population of ours and the masses that are asking for jobs? Why have we not been able to create jobs for our growing youthful population?
Again, it's a couple of factors, Jerry. It's a couple of factors, and let me start with, first of all, education. Okay, so I think the government, and if you read in the economic textbook, it's common knowledge that the government is a bad businessman, right? And the engine of every economy is the private sector. So you need an educational system that churns out graduates who are ready to start a business. For me, that's
very fundamental.
That's fundamental. Because, when you take the West, for example, and take Europe, the vast majority of people are employed by the private sector. Small businesses that employ between 5 and 10 people, right? Not even the big conglomerates. You have thousands, several tens of thousands of this kind of businesses that are hiring 3 people, 5 people, 10 people. And this sort of businesses were set up by graduates, right? So the educational system has to be structured in a manner that people come out with the idea that they're going to start something.
Okay.
Even before they come out, they should have projects. They should have interventions, right? So government must create that enabling environment and have that right educational system. That's the first point. The second point is when the people come out and they're starting, we need to incentivize them. We should not overburden them with taxes, right? I currently look at the Growth and Sustainability Levy Act, okay? And that act basically is leaving every company, be it small, big, it doesn't matter, right? The only distinction is that if you are a big guy, your levy is 5%. But if you are a small guy, then it's 2.5%. But virtually everybody is being taxed on the accounting profit, okay? And that is aside your corporate taxes. I think we should be giving such smaller businesses a break. We should be incentivizing them to go into business, to do more. We should be incentivizing them to plow back the profits that they make. That's the only way they can grow. That's the only way they can hire 1 or 2 more people. Okay, so when we talk jobs, I mean, personally, I'm not expecting the government to be the one employing people. And if we do expect government, we will be highly disappointed, because government is limited. Government cannot do much. It's the private sector. Government's job is to empower the private sector, create the enabling environment, create the right opportunities, give the right people the tax base, not the foreigners. I mean, there are bills in Parliament. Hopefully, maybe when Parliament comes back, they're going to table them, trying to give tax waivers to companies and stuff like that. The question I ask myself is, why are we not giving these waivers to the small business, the Ghanaian businesses, the enterprises, those who are having 2-3 employees? Without that, we will be in this cyclical mode where people don't have much, they live from hand to mouth, they are unable to employ people, the youth keep going around looking for job because they don't have what it takes to be able to start anything, and we will perpetually be in this cycle.
Our educational system equips people to come out looking for jobs rather than creating jobs. Our tax regime overburdens the small business person rather than incentivize the person.
That's correct.
Ima?
Yeah.
This one is Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana we're talking about.
Yeah, and we spoke about it last week, where we used the analogy of a baby. A baby comes, and we said the businesses, once they are new at their introductory phase, you don't tax them. Otherwise, you kill them. You are milking a baby. You milk a mother. And so if the tax reforms or the tax policies are not enabling for businesses to grow and peak at their maturities, you will kill them. And you should know that once your businesses are growing, how do you proxy their growth? Not just in terms of the sales they earn, but even the sales will be tied to their production and all of that. They need staff, they need labor, quality labor. And so year on year, the qualified students who come out to be employees will be absorbed by these businesses. And we are not looking at just one business. Different businesses across different sectors of the economy. They'll be pushed in there. Today, if anybody is a medical doctor, it's only one way. Government posting you somewhere. You find few doctors in private institutions. And even those in the private institutions, when you look at the data, you find that most of them are actually in the public sector. And what they are doing is like a backup work or something like that. So you not find a lot of people. That's why we're saying, why is someone reading agric not too comfortable owning a farm or farming after school? But someone who did agric in the university is working at the bank as a teller. Is working at the bank. Is working somewhere.
Are you talking to me or what?
Oh, you did agric.
What's wrong with you?
You are not even in my mind. There are a lot of people on my mind that I'm looking at to make this point. But that is the whole point. There are people who have studied agric and studied some things that are relevant for this economy. Out of school, they are not applying that. They are applying something else. And that gap, if we don't find good policies to close it, will forever remain where we are.
You know, Jerry, I mean, if you look at our Income Tax Act, right, it requires that every year, every company makes an estimate of how much profit they're going to make during the year. And once you make this estimate, you calculate the amount of tax that you will be paying during the year, and to break this tax into 4 quarters. Okay. Now, here's what happens. So you have a young guy set up, and I've seen this time and again where I've got clients come to me and they need tax advice, and they've just set up their business, right? And in order to kickstart or in order to do a few things, they need a tax clearance. And so I need to help them get this tax clearance. But the rule requires that they must make this estimate of how much profit they'll make. Now, you make this estimate, you send it to the GRA, and you get an answer that says, oh, you need to pay something, or you need to make an estimate that says you will make some profit, so you will pay some taxes, right? And if you say no, you get a bit of frustration, right? And
you're not getting your clearance.
You're not getting your clearance, right? And if you push further, of course, the law makes room for a process for you to go through to get a remedy. But that takes, I mean, you need a clearance in a week in order for you to be able to proceed and do what you have to do. That grievance procedure is going to take you 3 months, right? The guy doesn't have the time to go through that process. So he's compelled to either make that
projection,
that profitable projection. Making the projection is not the problem. I mean, of course, we will make a realistic projection and all that. But the taxman, because of his target or whatever target has been given them, is compelling the taxpayer to make a projection that makes him pay taxes now, right? And if you don't, you go through the cycle. And either he goes to borrow money or he goes to find working capital from somewhere and put it in. We should rather be supporting them. He needs money rather to get an office space. He needs money to buy inputs, and get a business off the ground.
Are we too heavily reliant on our global exports, and that is what is affecting our economic performance? Are we so pro gold and was that our timber and the one that Ima was singing this morning? All the things that we are sending out there, are we too reliant on that to raise money to run this country?
Are we too reliant? Yes, we are. In fact, maybe for lack of a better word, we will say too reliant. We are overly reliant on that. And
so that global prices then hits us.
It doesn't matter, Jerry, what the global prices are, right? I mean, look, the price of cocoa is doing quite well. I mean, we can't say cocoa prices are bad. We can't say gold prices are bad. So even oil, I mean, we are at a time that the prices of commodities are doing fairly well. Why are we struggling? We're struggling because we cannot produce that much to save us as a country. I mean, truth be told, we are 30 million plus population, if I'm not mistaken. The last census put it as something around 28. But we should be more than 30 by now, right? How much gold can we keep mining? In fact, the cocoa farmers are no longer even interested in farming cocoa. Right? and now we must even be worried, right, that the little cocoa that we produce, right, we may be facing a huge challenge in the near future if we don't solve the issue of the pollution of our waters, right? Because now the international market is going to start asking questions as to whether the quality of our cocoa meets the standard that they want, right? They're going to, very soon, they will start doing all those tests to find out whether our cocoa contains metals and stuff like that. We can't run away from it. So if we don't solve those problems and we keep relying on cocoa, we're dead. Cocoa will not save us. I mean, this year, Cocoa Board, if I'm not mistaken, was unable to raise any international financing. They have to turn to the local market, try to raise 500 million. Only God knows if they succeeded.
Ima?
Yeah, Jerry, spot on. I mean, I agree. Especially now that our farmers don't want to farm on the land, but under the land, farm for something else, metals. And that should tell you the trend of the performance of our agri sector. And sometimes it looks like it is just cocoa, but a number of things. You'll be surprised to note that tomatoes, onions, they are being imported into this country. We're importing onion, tomatoes. You know, Ghana is like, when your soup is not red, it's not soup. In Ghana, yeah, we have some love for tomatoes. The last time I was coming from Accra Safari, I saw a big truck, about 3 of them. They were carrying onions. And I watched the number plate. I think they were coming from Burkina Faso.
BF.
Oh, I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
Now, back in the day, we had people's homes had gardens where some of these things were planted. Okra, tomatoes, pepper. I mean, in bits. And prices of these staples were very low. But today, the prices are quite high. And because the prices are high with respect to our own markets, now you need to get them from elsewhere. And that affects us. The moment you are dependent on something outside your boundaries, any external shock directly affects you. It hits you hardly. And that is why it is one of the reasons why you would say we have all the resources, yet we are suffering. It is, when he was talking, I wanted to even say, can't we drive the prices of cocoa and gold? If we have cocoa, if we have gold, we are the leading suppliers of same. Can't we drive the prices then?
Yeah, but you and Cote d'Ivoire have come together to do the Ghana Cote d'Ivoire Cocoa Initiative, and it's a very powerful initiative. Yeah. The two leading producers calling the shots. You are already doing that. I think recently we were calling the shots as to what will happen between the two countries concerning the cocoa and all that. So in that light, you're doing well. However, you still don't seem to be doing very well.
Yes, because like I said, the cocoa earning curve is higher as you move up, not when you are the supplier at the base. Those adding value to the cocoa are those earning more, and not those supplying the cocoa rarely. And so you need an alternative. You need to turn the cocoa around. You don't need to produce it, send the beans elsewhere for people to turn them around, and they'll bring these chocolates and all, and it even attracts your countrymen or your citizens, and that is what they purchase more. Cocoa beans are not enough. Pricing that is not enough to make the margins. You need to turn that beans around. You need to invest into industries that can turn the beans even better than what you get from elsewhere. Because whatever they are doing elsewhere, they are dependent on the raw beans that you produce here in your country. That is what they are depending. So are we saying over 60 years of the country's independence, there has not been any investment to get people to go there, go and study what they are doing and replicate same in this country? Is that what we are saying?
Initiative Cacao Cote d'Ivoire de Ghana. They just concerned about the prices, the producer prices for our farmers. Yeah. But
that's not sufficient.
Yeah.
That's necessary but not sufficient.
Yeah.
Because I'm saying the earning is higher at the upper part of the curve, not at the lower part. As you move up, you earn.
It becomes richer.
Yeah, you become.
Mr. Olu, our fiscal deficit, are we saying that is what is accounting for the deficit to invest in infrastructure and social services?
It's partly
part
that.
Of it. Okay.
It's partly that. Because remember, right? I mean, and again, when you look at sub-Saharan Africa, right? By far, we are one of the countries that have a very low tax to GDP ratio.
Okay.
Okay. Currently, we're sitting around 14%. Okay. Our peers are sitting around 19-20%. In fact, our own government is targeting between 18 to 20%, but we are at 14%, I think 14.1, if I'm to be exact. Now, what it means is that for government to be able to cover all its expenditure, it will have to borrow, right? Okay. Because it's unable to generate sufficient revenue from within, so it has to borrow. Now, there are two sources. Either government borrows from the domestic market, which is from people like you and us who are able to save some money with the banks, or they borrow from the international market. Now, the challenge with borrowing from the international market is that you need to show a certain level of ability to pay back. In terms of when they look at your debt to GDP ratio, it must be within a certain reasonable limit, right? I think if you look at the years in chunks, because those are when we've changed government, right? From 2016, for example, we're sitting slightly below 60%, the debt to GDP ratio. Then by 2020, we have gone past 70%. By 2023, which was last year, we were 100% plus, right? Which forced the domestic debt exchange.
Okay.
Now, with this comes a limitation in terms of fiscal space, right? So government is unable to have additional revenue because the majority of the revenue goes into paying for interest on bonds, interest on treasury bills, interest on euro bonds, and the likes, right? By the time government finishes servicing all these debts, there is really nothing left for infrastructure development. And that's why, if you notice, a lot of the infrastructure development we having are by foreign donors. I mean, the likes of the Sino-Hydro. I mean, it's either a Sino-Hydro project, a World Bank project, African Development Project, or European Union, or American government, because there's no space for such infrastructure development as far as government spending and government revenue is concerned.
Okay.
It's actually going to be a bit tighter in the years ahead, right? Because remember, and that's something that I think a lot of people don't pay attention to, right? Because in 2022, 2023, what did we do? We suspended the payment of interest on Eurobond, okay? Prior to the debt exchange and all that. Even the domestic debt, we managed to kick the can down the hill and restructured it in a manner that we only start to pay principals sometime from 2027 and 2028. Okay, so we've kicked it down the hill, right? Now, what's going to happen is that once we finish restructuring the Eurobond and everything is concluded, new debts are issued, 3-4 years from now, the principals are going to mature. What's going to happen when those principals mature? A lot of the government revenue is going to go back into servicing those debts. Unless, of course, government decides to reissue new debts to finance them, which then just puts us in the same cycle, right? Will the holders of those stocks be willing to take new debts? We don't know. Maybe we'll have to wait to get there and see. So the problem is, if we don't have a mindset shift where we have an economy that generates enough revenue, that generates sufficient tax revenue in the right way, we will keep borrowing to finance infrastructure. We will keep depending on donors for infrastructure. We will not get to the end.
And won't we be accused of scaring Ghanaians that they should brace themselves for a tough few years ahead?
They say when you go into a warfare, you are better off knowing what you are up against, right? It's the reality. I mean, it's not. This is not fear mongering. I mean, all the things we are saying are facts. I mean, if you get the statistics, debt exchange, everybody knows about. Everybody knows why we had to do the debt exchange. So these are the facts. We need, what we say is not to make people to be afraid, but to conscientize people and make people aware of what the challenge is. I think the more aware people are, the more better their choices and their decision making will be, and also as a country. I mean, if we have to make a decision as a country, which I think in some few weeks' time we will be making a decision, we have to make the right decision, and we have to be aware in order to make the right decision.
Good point. So we're not fear mongering; we're just telling you the truth, exactly, so that you make a decision on it. When talking economic pain points, is it a must that we talk corruption?
I think it's like on the top of the list for me. We can't talk economic pain point without talking corruption.
Okay,
it's one of the key things, right? And it's not when we talk corruption, we must talk about it across the divide, right? More often than not, when we say corruption, people only think, okay, it's the executives,
okay,
right? But we must look at it across the spectrum. And I'm yet to see an economy that has really developed and done well, that is corrupt, right? If an economy should do well, you must fight corruption.
Okay.
Corruption is expensive. even for the private sector, okay, we have seen instances where things have not gone the way the ordinary Ghanaian will want. I mean, we have seen instances where we have spent huge amount of money on doing things that the Ghanaian doesn't really consider as value for money.
Okay.
We have seen instances where things are approved for cabinet and for the executives and for ministries that one will ask, is it really what the Ghanaian wants?
Okay.
Right? Not all of them may be due to corruption. Some may be misplacement of priorities. But obviously, we need to ask the question, are we as a country putting our money where our mouth is?
That's a big question. Are we as a country putting our money where our mouth is? It's something that, for me, improving governance, reducing corruption in order to foster economic growth, we cannot have conversations like this without bringing them in, and the need for us to do something about it. It's fast approaching a quarter to the top of the hour, meaning that we have less than a quarter of the hour to go in this conversation. Mr. Ebenezer Hulu is here with us. We're having a very interesting conversation with him. He happens to be the managing partner of AOB and Associate Chartered Accountants. He's here in the studios with us on Business Breakfast on Zed. It's the Ghana report. There's so much to discuss on Ghana, but we'll just touch on some, and then maybe next time we get him in, and then we'll continue the conversation. FDIs. If we're struggling internally, could we say FDIs could also be the way to go? Are we putting in the right place to attract or deter investors? What do you see from where you sit as someone who understands the space? Do you think FDIs are the way to go, and are we doing best to attract the right investors?
So it's a huge challenge that we have on our hands at the moment with FDIs, right? And I've seen a couple of investors, also because of the nature of my work. I interact with prospective investors that are coming in, some that are here currently. I've recently been asked some very difficult questions where a client, for example, asked me, are we at all able to get our money out of this country, right? So if you look 8 years ago, I have a client 8 years ago brought in money into this country. So just let's, without mentioning them and using the right numbers, right? Let's say $100,000. He brought $100,000 in at a time. So that's at the time was around 400,000 cedis. Okay. Today, he's been using that 400,000 cedis doing business, trying to get something going. Today, basically, he's lost almost 80% of that money. Okay, if today he wants to send his 400,000 cedis back, divided by 17,
he's
you can
nowhere
tell,
near his $100,000.
You can tell how much he's able to get back, right? So the question is, or one of the key drivers that foreign investors look at when they have to bring their money in is the stability of the currency. The more stable the currency, the more likely it is that they will bring their foreign currency. Because remember, they can never take CD out of this country. Their only way of taking money out, whether it's profit, dividend, whether they fold up and they are repatriating their capital, whatever it is, they will have to convert into dollars or into pounds or whatever foreign currency. So the less stable the Ghana cedi is, the more wary foreign investors are in terms of bringing their money into this country. And so if we really want to attract foreign direct investment, we have to be serious about the cedi.
We have to be very, very serious about the cedi. Let's use the next few minutes before we leave to attempt to prefer sustainable solutions to where we are and say, give ourselves from now till 2057 to turn this country around. By then, maybe a lot of those listening to us might not even be around, but we're planting trees under which our children's children will come and sit under. What is the way forward? With that long-term planning head, what is the way forward?
I will talk a couple of suggestions. Right?
Okay.
First of all, I think we need to change direction.
Okay.
We need to change direction as a country. That's in my view the first point. If we continued how we're heading now, we will crash. In my view, that's the first point. The second point is, and again, this is common knowledge, right? For those who have read economics, right? During the Great Depressions, right? Where the debate between the classical economics and the Keynesians, right? Where the solution was, let's just employ people to dig trenches. Let's employ another set to cover the trenches. By so doing, we will pay people, they will go out and spend, and the economy will bounce back. What am I saying? We need an economy that employs more people. Whether we have to divide the day into three, the 24 hours into 3 or 4 or 5, whatever we need to do. We cannot continue producing, if we're producing 100 oranges, we can't continue producing 100 oranges and think we'll be okay. We need to double that number, triple it, do whatever we have to do. I don't know what strategy that will result
but
in,
that
but
must be
we
done.
must double production.
Okay.
However we do it, that must be, right? Then government must slow down on borrowing. Government has got to slow down on borrowing and look inward. Okay, that's crucial. The other point is the financing of government by the central bank has got to also slow down or stop. Okay, because that's also fueling part of the inflation and also a part of the reason why the cedi is depreciating. That needs to stop. We need some very bold solutions.
Okay.
Some of them may be painful at the initial stages, but in the long term will be very rewarding. We've got to brace ourselves, tighten our belt. We have to make this economy work again.
Wow. What you're calling for is someone who can stand in front of Ghanaians and say, I have the plan going forward, but it's going to be very painful. Painful to the point you might not like me, but I still believe I have the plan going forward. If you could give me 8 years, I'll turn this thing around. Yes. And someone that we can look in the person's eyes and say, we trust what he or she is saying.
That's correct. There's a very famous saying by Jack Ma. He says, tomorrow will be difficult. The day after tomorrow will be very difficult. But the day after that will be beautiful. The problem is, most people die the night before it becomes beautiful. So what I'm saying is, we must be prepared as a country to tighten our belts, to follow whichever leader will take that bold decisions. The first few years, maybe 1 or 2 years, yes, things will not be rosy, but by the 3rd, 4th, things will begin to see the green light.
Interesting. Tomorrow will be difficult. The day after tomorrow will be more difficult. But the day after that will be beautiful.
Problem
but unfortunately.
Most people die the day after tomorrow.
Do you think Ghanaians in general, a greater percentage of us, are getting to the point where we are realizing that things are going to be difficult going forward? Or you still think people believe in all these rosy promises and, 3 square meals kind of thing?
Unfortunately, Jerry, not we have a very diverse population. I think not many people are still very aware economically, and so the needs are different. We still have a chunk of our population that still believe in easy way out. Let me, if I'm allowed to say that, right? I mean, and so the promises will still be flying around. A lot will not be based on substance, because we still have a chunk of the population who are unable to either question or are unable to link the substance to the promise and question and say, but how is this going to happen? Linking the past to the present and then to the future, not many of us are able to do. And so as long as that is the case, you still have an instance where, people will still be getting away with some of those. And perhaps it's up to you and I and the rest of us who are able to put the linkages together to help educate the rest of the public.
Mr. Emmanuel Barton.
Yeah.
Tomorrow be difficult. Mr. Ebenezer Hulu. What do you have any last words before I wrap up?
Yeah, my last words are that I see a trend of people, especially young ones, trying to leave the country, usually because of the hardships that are in here. Like someone has said, America can do without you, and maybe your country cannot do without you. And so let's look at the difficulties and challenges, the mistakes that are being made. Rather learn from them and resolve that when we climb up there, we are not going to repeat them, but we'll do what it takes to make things better for the next generation to come after us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel Barton. Mr. Hulu, you have the last word.
Thank you, Jerry. I think I'm very confident in this country.
Oh, you are?
I am. We have what it takes to make things change and make things work. We just have to put our minds to it. So I'm very confident in the future. I'm very positive, and God being our help with the right leadership, things will turn around.
His name is Ebenezer Hulu. He's a managing partner of AOB and Associates Chartered Accountants. You heard him on the Ghana Report, the Monday edition of the Roundtable. It's been quite an interesting morning for us here at Z 101.9 FM, BBZ, hashtag BBZ on all our platforms. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me here for the Ghana Report, and I hope to see more of you in the coming weeks. Probably after the elections, I should bring you back so that we have a conversation about what you see happening. It's just a few minutes to the top of the hour. Coming up at 10 is NYA the brand, and she's coming up with a brighter side. Mid-morning's finest. She is going to take you all the way through your brunch, your late breakfast, and all that, and even till after lunch. It is what it is. One of those days when we give you the hard questions, so that as you go about your day, you think about Ghana for some time and ask yourself whether you're playing your part to make sure things work. But as always, my last words. Pray like it only depends on God, but go work like it only depends on you. My name is Jerry Helm, and we're back here tomorrow with another edition of Business Breakfast on Zed. We only speak business.